Captain Universe?
Yeah, it was like I think it was in the 90s when Peter Parker, remember he got Spider-Man, became Captain Universe for all two. He got possessed, and then they
Oh
brought back
yeah, I
that.
remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
That was during the. I think that was during the Michelini run. Didn't was that Michelini and Larson?
Oh, I think it was Larson and Michelini. But I do know Captain Universe was brought back in the King of Black series. Remember? In order to
Oh
defeat
yes,
Null.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm
That was
surprised they
that
haven't done
was kind of
anything with that.
interesting how they did that.
Yeah, I'm just shocked they haven't done anything with that character since then. But
Well,
looks like
speaking of
we're live
interesting,
now.
we are live. Surprise! Well, it's not a surprise to you guys listening, but it is a surprise to RDV. I always sneak it
No,
up on him.
looked over. I saw the thumbnail on my phone. I was like, oh, I can see the photo.
Yeah, but there's a delay, so um,
Well, that's
yeah,
my part. I'm a little slow.
we're just talking about Danny Ketch's new Ghost Rider series.
By Howard Mackey, doing a throwback series, 5-issue miniseries.
It's really interesting how they're bringing back these older guys to do throwback series.
It's
I
honestly,
can't
it's the only thing that I read at Marvel. Otherwise, I'm pro DC now or AD.
I
It
can't tell
sucks.
if Marvel is doing it because they realize like they're screwing up and like people want to read the old comics, or if they're just trying to throw a bone and be like, "Oh, here, you old guys, you can have something too." I don't know what they're doing.
Honestly, I think they're hurting for money now.
But why not just go do instead of doing this as a throwback, just go back to that. If that's the case,
Because they're a stubborn
yeah.
uh person, they will never admit their faults. Oh, like they'd rather try to brush it under the rug, but like I don't know, man.
Right. They want to save
You
face
look.
like
Can you save face when you have stuff like what they're putting out with current Spider-Man? That alone is like a nut punch to their Marvel fans. Even if you like the current X-Men stuff, but I mean they're trying to get the one thing is right. Like I do applaud them. They got Jason Aaron off Avengers. Now I don't know how much better Jed McKay is gonna be. It's coming out this week. I'm gonna try it out and see what it's like. If it's gonna be, but I don't know, man. Like, it's are they gonna do like Dawn of DC, like they were doing at DC? They're gonna have within 2 issues in, they're gonna have some world event that's gonna f up, any chance he had of building momentum for people liking it. You know, the other thing is, I'm not a fan of the lineup. I mean, some people like Sam Wilson, Captain America. More power to you, but I don't care for that.
nope.
Um, I
Sam
mean,
Wilson, Captain
what?
America is the
It's
dumbest.
literally, you know what this looks like? They're doing like his movie's gonna tie in with the Fallen Order movie in the MCU because you hit which wouldn't make sense because you have Iron Man, you have Thor there, but I mean, but we got Vision, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, looks like Carol Danvers, Thor, and Iron Man, and Sam Wilson, Captain America. The problem is that it's like getting like the B-list Avengers with a few originals. You know,
Right. Now,
like
just for my old brain to make sure I didn't get confused, you're now talking about the MCU lineup, not the Marvel Comics lineup.
oh, well, I'm talking about the Marvel comic line with the new Avengers, Jim McKay.
Oh,
You look at the Fallen Order though, it's kind of the same lineup though.
I don't know
It's
what Fallen Order is. Is that
Fallen
a new?
Order. It's the new, or not Fallen Order. That's something. That's freaking Star Wars, whatever. New World Order. The new Captain America 4,
Oh,
with
that's
Sam
the
Wilson,
new. Yeah, there's a new comic coming out.
and they're gonna. So I don't know if this will have any tie to that, but I mean, it looks like they're really trying to push Sam Wilson, Captain America, like also, Captain Marvel. But the problem is, I honestly, now that I think about it, I said it out loud. We're not going to connect the comic books to the movies because they know people don't buy comic books like watch the movies.
Well, also
You know?
because the comics writers are such
Yeah.
trash that they don't want to tarnish the MCU.
Yeah. Is
It
Eric? Hello to Eric. He says that they want Dad to have something to pick up while their non-binary babies or babies. He says babies pick up the latest garbage tier books. True. Should probably say hello to the chat before we get too far in.
Hello,
Want me to go?
chat. We're gonna welcome HR Goes Vocal. He is first. You get a prize. It is gonna be in the mail sometime in the future. Can't guarantee when, but it'll be there. Trust us. We never lie. Zach
Uh,
Richmond is also here. He is not. He hasn't crashed our party in a while. Like I think he's too good for us. But
well,
he's here.
I said, and I had to reach out tonight to see if he wanted to join or not, even though he has read the books we're talking about.
Well, he's busy playing his Nintendo, so
Well, he's playing the Zelda game, the new one,
yeah, he, you know.
which is pretty good.
I'm able to put down video games to hang out with my friend Zach, but if you're not, it's cool. I understand.
I'm always putting down video games. I don't like the games that are out.
There's some good games out, man. You're missing out. Maranya is here. She says she's best. Um, she's absolutely the bestest at being humble.
uh,
And there's a frog in the chat. Breen is in the house. He says, "Hola, nerditos." Hello, nerdito to you. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Um, and that's all
no,
the regulars that are here now, right now.
well, Zach, if you could talk and play, why aren't you in here? Right now, I could do things at once.
That's all right.
So,
It's all right. He's
but
gonna play his Zelda. I get it.
no, and the reason I say they're like B-list team because it's not the main Avengers lineup. This is
Zach,
like you're bringing back Vision and Scarlet Witch, who to me honestly haven't been that exciting since when they first had their own series. Black Panther. When does he have time to be an Avenger? Doesn't make sense to him because remember isn't he always like Wakanda first? You know,
Zach, you're
it's
right. They're not B list. They're C list. That's. I agree. Um,
I mean, Carol Danvers, sure. Like I could see. Well, not even an A list. I mean, like the lineup I liked was the Mighty Avengers team back in the day. That was
yeah,
that was my
that's
team. Yeah,
the old school Mighty Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Like
yeah,
the Avengers was just an excuse to be like the Justice League. It was like,
yeah.
let's take our
Exactly.
biggest heroes and let's contrive a way to put them in the book together. They really wouldn't have been, but it's comic books, so there they are. Um, and it's classic. And I think there's room to fudge. Right? I didn't mind when you mess with the roster a little bit, and this roster here, which let me put up on the screen. Oh yeah, just to show the cover of the
Can't be
new
worse
Avengers book.
than Jason Aaron's Phoenix,
I mean, look,
storyline
these
with
are all Avengers. I can't, other than the fact that Captain Marvel is just a failed hero. It's getting embarrassing, like how like they're just doubling, tripling, quadrupling, quintupling down. I don't even know. I think they're on sextupling now. Like how many volumes of Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, and her book, by the way, is just being canceled. They're launching an Avengers book with her as the leader while her book is being canceled. That's not an A-list hero. Like if you're canceling the book. So of this team, I guess Black Panther's got a book, Thor's got a book, and Iron Man's got a book. Do we have a token Captain America book or not?
Do you know what I'd actually rather have? I'd rather have the Avengers Assemble lineup. At least that was
Well,
so quality. You had the
well, hold,
Hulk,
well,
you
hold on.
had
Don't
Thor.
don't. We'll get you. I'll get to that. But does token Captain America have a book?
He does.
Okay,
It's
so
that's and
for
it's basically Captain America. No, there's Sentinel Liberty, and then there's something else. That's one he has. I forget what it's called, but it's tying into this whole uh event now, Cold War events. Just like so. Basically, if you want the full story, you have to read it. It ties into his book. But
no one cares.
I don't know. Like I said, I like the Awakening as Falcon. I like
Yeah,
having actual Captain America, Steve Rogers, on there. I liked having him as Falcon on the team. If you want, you can have Thor, you can have Jan and Ant Man, or you can have this. You don't even have to have the Jan or Hank on there. You can have Hawkeye, Black Widow. Do an awesome uh, regular lineup. I mean, if you want to have these guys on here, sure. I understand that Zach, you like these people outside. That's great for you. But compared to the other Avengers lineups, I just feel this is kind of weak.
Zach clarifies it. Symbol of Truth is the other book, which is so ironic.
I know, right?
that his book is Symbol of Truth. When no, Sam Wilson. You know what? I don't even necessarily mind if you did a story where Captain America's dead or whatever, and someone's like wants to pick up the shield. In like
No,
Sam Wilson like took up the shield, but didn't call himself Captain America. Like you can call yourself like American Eagle, or that name's probably copywritten. I'm sure there's a character
yeah.
named American Eagle, but you could just call yourself the Eagle or something, and just keeping your Falcon roots, right? Like you're just updating your name, but you're keeping your identity of who you are. You're not trying to fill in the shoes of someone else. What I hate about Sam Wilson is that it's so obvious that he is a token. It's so obvious that he's shoehorned in to be like, we're being diverse and inclusive, and we want black people to be able to like Captain America too, which to me is such a racist thing to assume that black people can't like Steve Rogers, that they need a black guy in order to like it's so it's so offensive, and I'm not even a person who gets offended by things. And what bothers me is that so many people can't see it. They're just like, oh, whatever, it's no big deal. And I'm like, if racism's no big deal to you, I guess, and that's whatever. But yeah, he's just lame as Captain America. He's just lame. It's just like, here, we'll give you these things. You can't help yourself. You suck. No one likes you. So we're gonna prop you up by giving you all the rewards and all the prestige that was earned by another character that you couldn't do on your own. It's so insulting. It's so condescending. It's racist. This character just bothers me on the whole. And I was never bothered by Falcon. Like Falcon was cool, and now you made me hate him. You made me have disgust for the character, and it's not his fault. He's not even a real person. He's just a figment of people's imaginations. But you get my point. Like, I don't know. And why is he even in Carol Danvers leading
So
this? She's actually murdered one of the other people that's on this cover, but she's now the leader. She's a joke of a character. Thor and Iron Man, of course, are old classics. They have a book. Black Panther has a book. Captain America, sorry, Sam Wilson has a book for maybe 6 more months. We know it's going to get canceled. No one's going to buy it.
so
Vision and
I want
Scarlet. One sec. Just indulge me. Vision and Scarlet Witch at least were
I'm you.
West Coast vendors, so semi pass. Like, okay, this lineup isn't terrible. At least they're not throwing in like characters like Wolverine and Spider Man. Go ahead.
Honestly, if you could write a different version of what's going on in Spider-Man books on this team, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, so I wanna address something. Zach saying I like how he likes Judd McKay on every other book, but he has issues with this one. I do not like his Mary Jane Black Cat series. He did that. Wasn't a fan of that. It was kind of weird. So, yeah, the only thing that was good about it was the covers. And like I said, I'm not. I haven't read it, so it could be a good story. I just don't care for Black Panther, Vision. I'm sick of that. I've had Scarlet Witch fever, all that stuff. It's just too much of these characters because the MCU they're just everywhere now. Vision, Scarlet Witch before the MCU, they're kind of pushed back to the spotlight. They weren't really everywhere. But because of normies, they're like, oh, these characters are popular again. We should start using these. honestly, this could be a good story. I just don't like freaking Falcon trying to be Captain America. It is
Where
a
is
crappy
actual
version of the character.
where is
So
actual Captain America during in this?
is there?
Yeah. I mean there's two
Steve
books. We got it.
Rogers?
Yeah.
Why do they only show
What I'm saying is why is
Falcon
there
on
an
there?
Avengers where Sam Wilson is running around on the Avengers as Captain America while we have a Steve Rogers as Captain America, but he's not part of the Avengers? Why is he not part of the Avengers? Like, I guess we'll have to read the comic for. I don't think they'll give an explanation, but do you see? It just seems dumb. Like, oh, actual Captain America is just running around. What's he doing? Like sipping mai tais in Tahiti? Like, what's he doing? What?
Well,
There's
the,
an
I don't know. I'm looking at the description though. The star, the icon. Oh, wait, I recognize the king. You know, the engineer, Tony, the god is Thor. The construct, I guess, is Vision. I think. Wit, you know, the witch, Scarlet Witch. Who's the star and who's the icon? Because I mean, I guess I would leave Sam and Carol. I don't know. At this point, I would rather have Rhodey on the team versus Sam, and Carol can just be for backup if they need to call her. They'll page her. She'll show up and fly through a ship. But like I said, I digress. I haven't read it. It could be a good story. I just don't like these characters. I don't. I don't. It doesn't like. Oh, Vision's on there. Ooh, I gotta pick it up. No, if anything, it's just like, can we just get Vision and Scarlet Witch, put them on their own book, just kind of like let them be away from everything, you know? Black Panther. Uh,
there,
like
I
my
never
thing is
thought
like,
Black Panther fit in the Avengers.
I'm king. I know what I'm doing. Well, you're not boss. Well, I'm gonna do what I want to do. It's like no. I would
Yeah,
rather have Black Widow and
he
Hawkeye
never
on
made
here on the
sense. Like
team.
having him like guest star and like work with the Avengers for like a story, that makes
Yeah.
sense. But to have him like as an ongoing roster member of the Avengers, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, don't you have a country to run? What are you doing?
Like
And then Carol
Vision
Danvers,
and
of
yeah,
course, is just the like the uber bitch of the universe. Like,
Marania. I understand that Vision and Scarlet Witch were on the extended team. You know, because original team did not include them. They replaced two people, if I recall. I thought they were, but then they replaced Hank and Jan or something like that later on, or were just kind of backups. But like the Avengers have gone, they've had different roster changes all the time. I said I would prefer having Captain America, Steve Rogers, having Thor, having Iron Man, having Falcon, you know,
oh
Sam
look,
Wilson, and then yeah, if you want to have two other people, I would say I would have Hawkeye and Natasha. The only problem with this though, other than I see the few people I don't like the characters, there's too many people. So I've seen Jen McKay write, you know, with smaller casts, you know. Now he's got to juggle all these different Avengers on here. So I mean, like, does someone become the butt of the joke and that's it, like the Spider-Man? So it's gonna be interesting to see because I've never seen him write a group story like this.
there's been lower tier rosters in the Avengers before. I mean, there's no Doctor Druid on this or Black
Thank
Knight or
God.
you know. I mean, come on, let's. The Avengers doesn't always mean like your biggest characters, but I gotta disagree
uh,
when you say like Vision and Scarlet Witch are B-listers by definition. If you can't have your own book, that's because you're not a star. You're not an A-list. Like the characters that can sell their own books, and I mean not get handed one like Sam Wilson because he's a token. That he doesn't sell a book. That doesn't really count. We're talking about perennials like Iron Man and Thor have proven to be, and even Black Panther to some extent. Um, but Vision and Scarlet Witch, They're not. I'm sorry. Like they may have been on the Avengers originally, but they were moved to West Coast for a reason. And I'm not saying like they're bad because of that. My favorite comics growing up were the X-Men, and none of them were A-listers except for Wolverine. So it's fine. It doesn't mean that they're a bad character. It's just a statement about like their stardom status, right?
And
And the
you see,
Avengers is supposed to be Earth's mightiest, like
Namor should never be on the Avengers. That's a stupid idea. I'm a bad creative.
yeah.
Sorry, I don't care what story you're telling. That is a bad idea.
And Thor Thor wasn't on. Thor's a king now because of all the nonsense that Jason Aaron has done, but Thor wasn't a king before. Like for the past 60
Well,
years before that, Thor
I thought
wasn't a
Kate
king.
said that. I thought Kate
No,
said that with the
no.
Oda dying.
Donnie, I thought it was Jason Aaron.
Because I don't know about maybe it was War of the Realms. Maybe was it?
No, Jason
I
Aaron
don't
did
know.
King Thor.
I don't pay attention to what Jason
Donnie
Aaron
Cates
does.
brought back
I
Odin.
tried to. Yeah.
Yeah, they
No.
need to get rid of that. Like Thor being king is dumb.
Thor being the Phoenix.
And yeah, being the Phoenix is double dumb.
Double dumb.
It's Dumb and Dumber too. Um, Iron Man had a solo book for years, and certain people still call him a C-list hero. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm guilty. Um,
I guess
well,
I guess that there's a reason why even the cartoon series don't feature Vision and Scarlet in there because they're not that interesting. They had to bring for the last season of the Disney XD Avengers Assemble cartoon. They had to get rid of other members of the Avengers just to bring in Black Panther and have a Black Panther story for like a whole entire season. And it was just it was the most dullest season there was because it wasn't Avengers, it was just Black Panther.
well, that's because it's we have to have black celebration season, and when you introduce a black character, everyone's got to kneel
And
down and suffer, go
so
through their
and
we're so guilty, white guilt.
so but my point is that was the final season. That show got canceled after that.
Yeah,
You wonder why.
because we're no one likes woke garbage crammed down their throat except for insufferably woke
but
people, and those are the
but
minority.
I will say this: I did like having Steve on the team in the Avengers Assembles cartoon. They actually did it. They were actually pretty good for this. They had Steve and Carol kind of having a little bit of a rival, because she's Air Force, he's Army. So I did like the fact they had a little bit of rivalry as far as when it came to like fighting stuff. It was like a friendly thing. So you had Hulk and Thor on the same team. Thor and Hulk also had a little friendly rivalry, so who could smash or who could defeat the most villains. And they lead into arguments.
So
You had Hawkeye, and Black Widow. I'm just saying, I like the normal lineup.
I want to steer away from the Avengers before this becomes the late night Avengers show.
Why not?
I want to say our final thoughts. At least Jed McKay is probably going to be better than Jason Aaron.
And that's my hope too. I hope that for everyone who suffered for the past how many years of bad Avengers stories, that Jed McKay turns around and actually makes it interesting to whether it's new readers or readers who maybe have fallen away. And you know what? This is actually pretty good, because that's the one thing about all of us. When our main comic book, I'm a Spider-Man fan. Like and Marani is Iron Man fan. When our books are taken over by shitty writers, we always have hope to go one day when we actually might be go back and like, you know what? I can't believe it. I'm actually wanting to buy another book from them. We always have that in the back of our mind. We always because we never want to leave these IPs because we love them so much. So I really hope this is the one that Jed McKay turns it around. Despite the fact I don't like half the cast on here, I really hope it turns around and actually makes me actually want to read more about these characters. Maybe he'll do something with them that someone else hasn't already done before, or maybe he's bringing it back to something, paying using Zach words, homage or homage, or homage, whatever you want to do it. But I hope that he actually makes people actually want to go buy Avengers books. Now, I don't know how well Avengers books have been selling for the past years. I heard they were kind of declining in the '90s. You know, so but like I said, I'm not. I admit I'm not a big team fan person, though, but I will give this a shot because it's Jed McKay. It's finally not freaking Jason Aaron or Al Ewing or any of those other freaking writers who probably ruined it in the past 20 years. Uh, I'm hoping that they actually play the characters, well, being well written. But
I'm with
that
you
being
though.
said,
I'm not interested in these
um,
characters, so maybe Thor and Iron Man.
either way, I'm not a fan of Scarlet Witch or Vision or Black Panther. Maybe Jed McKay will write a story where actually they'll actually be entertaining to
I
me.
can tolerate Vision and Witch, like when they're just kind of on the side, but when you have to add in Sam Wilson, Black Panther, and Carol Danvers, like that's just too much. Um,
Are you kidding me? The Disney XD cartoon Avengers Assemble was better than the MCU. Sorry. The only thing that was good about the MCU was Tony
uh,
Stark, Robert Downey Jr.
you're high.
I'm not high. I'm just seeing through the bullshit.
Dude, Avengers, the first Avengers movie was still one of the perennial superhero movies of all time. Um, Demrania says, "See my comment above." Sam Wilson echoes. So she's talking about echoing the Busiek run. Here's one of the things though. Kurt Busiek is one of the great writers. So in the hands of someone great, you can take lemons and make lemonade. Jed McKay, I'm not confident he can make lemonade, but maybe. I mean, he is sad to say he's probably the best writer in Marvel right now. That's so. At least Avengers has got their best talent, however that is. Um, so moving along. Speaking of Thor,
Yep.
we have a new Thor book. Are you excited? They're rebooting Thor again.
Who's the writer?
Your boy Al Ewing. It's the Immortal Thor.
He's not my boy. I would disown him.
So we had Immortal Hulk, and now we're getting Immortal
Immortal Thor.
Thor.
They're literally out of ideas.
Marvel is reportedly launching a new Immortal Thor series with writer Al Ewing and artist Martin Coccolo, however you pronounce that. According to a tweet from fan Luca Nito Gary, man, when you're reporting based on a tweet from a fan, you got to work on your journalism. But whatever, gives us something to talk about. According to a tweet from this person, Marvel is launching new Immortal Thor run in August from Ewing and Coccolo. You might have heard it first. The next Thor run is Immortal Thor by. Yes. Repeat yourself. I don't even know what it's about yet, but I'm already excited. Also, it looks like we're back to the
Yay.
Kirby costume. I think this person gets paid by the word for their article. They're just writing nonsense.
I like when I go to CBR, I like to see who's writing the article, and I like to go through any other articles they've written to see how they repeat themselves.
So it looks like it says Marvel's ongoing Thor series will end its current storyline, Blood of the Fathers, on June 28th, with Thor 35 by writer Torun Grombeck, artist Juan Gedeon, and
So they're
Sergio Davila,
canceling. Wow. So
and cover artist Nick Klein. The synopsis for the issue reads: "The Midgard shattering finale." So
so
is this the
Torn
final
Grumbook
Thor?
is. I don't know, but I mean, as far as Torn Grumbook, I know she took over for Donny Cates, just like that's one of the books that Cates had that was forced to abandon. So maybe it was always planned to end, only for someone because that's what the Hulk book was supposed to be. I was told by Ryan Ollie. He said it was always planned to only be like 14 issues. It was never meant to go any further.
That's
Um,
called a mini series.
I know. Is it really a mini series though? If it's past like so many, like where do you call it a mini series, or is it, or is that
Okay,
end
well,
where it
you
becomes
can dicker between mini series and maxi series. It's a limited series.
exact? I'd say limited. Yes, yes.
It's a limited series. Like, here's the thing. Just continue this numbering. You don't need to
Yeah,
reboot. You could just go, oh, Donny Cates did a story, and he ended his story on issue 14. Cool. In issue 15, we brought in this new person. You know what? Just like you did on Thor, Donny Cates left, and they brought in this person, and now I think it's a she. She's like writing
Yeah, and
the
she's
Thor.
isn't she actually like Norwegian
I think she's Scandinavian.
or whatever? Like a bit like said, like they're kicking a woman off to put a guy on there. Or
And look, I mean, look, say what you will, Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk was the number one selling comic in the industry. So
you know
when
what?
you take the Hulk, it wasn't like he was number one selling Batman. He
Yeah,
was number one selling the Hulk. That's doing something. I have to give credit where credit's due. And I've read the first trade for Immortal Hulk, and it's pretty good.
yeah. That's the one thing a lot of people hated about Donny Cates' Hulk run because like, oh, it just ignores everything that Al Ewing built up. It's like, yeah, it's called life, bro. Get used to it. It
Well,
happens
it
all
kind
the
of
time
makes
now.
sense though because Al
Yeah.
Ewing's Immortal Hulk feels like it's almost took place out of continuity
Yes.
because it was a different Hulk. It was the
Yeah.
Hulk where he like turned into the Hulk at night. It wasn't like I get
Yeah.
angry. It
Yeah.
was, and he couldn't die. Like if he did die, like he just kind of like
Yeah.
was reborn.
Was he the Hulk or was he Clayface?
So apparently that was like the original Hulk concept that he was born. I don't know. I'm not a Hulk expert, but um, so what have you? I'm cool. Like I don't know if they should. They might have just done it as an imprint. I don't know. Marvel doesn't have their. They don't have like an Elseworlds or a Black Label or anything. But here we get to see Thor with his mom, the Phoenix. And
Yay.
who's this girl over here? Oh, is that Echo, the current Phoenix?
Yeah. Maya Lopez. I'm surprised I actually know that. Wow. I really don't pay attention to characters' real life names, but I think
So
that's what it is. I think, yeah,
stupid.
yeah.
There, mind you,
He's
Jean Grey is currently on Earth. The Phoenix is bonded to Jean Grey. It doesn't make any sense. None of this, everything they just destroyed the Phoenix. It was one of my favorite creations in Marvel was the Phoenix. I
like I
loved
said,
it.
the only natural succession for any of you if you're with Jean Grey now being Earth, the Phoenix would be in Rachel Summers.
Yes, and Rachel Summers. They destroyed that character too. So
Yep.
it's like, um, although
Yeah.
in the Extreme X Men, Rachel Summers does have the Phoenix Force. So I don't. That book's clearly out of continuity though.
It is. It's continuing from. It's ignoring. X-Men was going on at the time. Claremont decided to do his own run, continuing what he thought the X-Men would be going down. He ignored a side complex and all that stuff. So basically, continuing from his run, he that's what Extreme X-Men was. Which I gotta give him credit for because I like the fact that it wasn't Ultimate X-Men. Um, it actually had a decent storyline going through. The art, which I'll probably get flack for this, Salvador LaRocca, when he on the Extreme X Men when he was coming out 2001 2000, art wasn't that great. But over the years, I've just noticed his art getting better and better. So, but honestly, I wish they could do that for Spider Man. If they could do that for Extreme X Men, I honestly just bring back the alternate universe. Or do you even have to create an alternate universe? Just let people write stuff out of continuity. You can have your current X Men, you can have but let us actually have the better books. Let us have like if you want to have Claremont continuing and doing an X Men if he can. I don't know if he's even physically able to do more than 5 issues, whatever. But if he wanted to, let him come in. Let him write a 20 issue thing or 50 issues or whatever. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't sell, oh well. Then yeah, then we'll just accept. But I just hate this where oh, you guys can only have these crappy versions, and then people complain, well, I don't like the fact that when someone took over, they changed this. It's like, I'm for deconstruction of certain characters sometimes because sometimes it makes it better. When Bendis did his thing with the Avengers, you know, his first volume, I like that. The New Avengers, but I don't know. It's at this point, everyone retcons the other person.
Speaking of retcons here, so here we have a scene from Jason Aaron's
Retcon this shit.
new Avengers book that he's still writing for whatever reason. We're gonna have two different Avengers continuities going on at the same time. And he reads here, he's shouting, "The fire breathed into me the day I was born by my mother. The fire of the mighty Thor, son of the Thunderbird." Okay, I've been reading Thor for a long time. Thor's never demonstrated any sort of power breathed into him by his mother. Like like if this was breathed into him the day he was born, why is it just appearing now?
You know what this means, Of? It just sounds like I unlocked a new ability
Like this
in
is
an
the
RPG game.
this is like Bobby Drake Iceman gay. Like, oh, for 60 years I wasn't, but now I am. But that means I really was all
Right.
along, even though you didn't see it.
It's just stupid as having Iceman all of a sudden, like, other than him being gay. I agree that is dumb. That is one of the most stupid decisions they ever made for that character. But him all of a sudden, oh, I can now throw fireballs. They're ice fireballs. They're blue flames. It's like, no. Like, does Thor even need to have flames? No. If you want a flame character, go look over at Human Torch or Sunspot or any of the other characters that actually have flame powers. He doesn't need another power. It's just like I said, what they do in Superman, giving him another ability where he can create this giant avatar, energy avatar on him, so he can, it's like when your character's already OP'd, do not give him another power. It's beyond ridiculous.
Right. Exactly. Like King Thor is already OP. He's got the Odin Force, which, by the way, the Odin Force is dumb. Now he's got the
Yeah.
Phoenix Force on top of that. The dude, like, he bitch slaps
It's
Galactus, right? It's like, what are you doing with this character? Like,
isn't
you literally had to do a story where the destructor of the universe that Galactus came from had to be the villain that even Galactus was afraid of, right? So that
well,
Thor could have something to fight. Like it's just like, what are you gonna do next? Like, oh, now he's. I hear that they're doing a story where they're
yeah.
bringing in the creator of the Beyonders, and I'm like, you making creators of Beyonders now? Like we're going beyond the Beyonders? Is that's gonna be Thor's next villain? Like, why don't you just have him fight God? Like, so it's just
Thor is
retarded. But
God. He wouldn't fight himself. No, but what was it? I was gonna say. Oh, the Odin Force. Not sure if it's been changed since then, but I remember in the back in Simon's Searcher saga, Odin said his power is actually from his two younger brothers. They, that's where he gets his power from. They merge their energy into him, and that became the Odin Force. You know, so him passing it on to his son Thor, sure, but
how come does this mean now that Jane Foster has Phoenix Force? Because she gets her powers from Mjolnir, which says if whoever wields this hammer, if they be worthy, has the powers of Thor. And
does she have Mjolnir though?
since now she doesn't have this moment, but Jane Foster
No,
Thor was all about, she had the hammer, so she had the powers of Thor. Where were the Phoenix powers? Because we're now being told that half of Thor is a Phoenix. So
I would
shouldn't
say,
Mjolnir bestow the powers of Thor as the Phoenix? Like, does anyone
yeah.
think about anything over there?
Well, if it seems like we're trying to say, oh yeah, without the hammer, he's got flame powers as it is. Now, as long as lightning powers, he doesn't need the hammer. The hammer is just something to throw around. Like a boomerang. Um. So her having it says like, yeah, they took. I think they took away that whole thing. Those who hold the hammer has the power of Thor, or at least, or it doesn't make sense because if they have the power of Thor, they might have a small sample. Maybe like his ability to fly or throw the hammer, call down lightning. But I mean, like, I'm gonna shoot flames out of my hands and just like I don't know. If you like pick up the hammer, you should not have the power of Thor. You should just be like Captain America and just in just spacey throw the hammer around. Maybe have a little bit of lightning, but you because most people can. I would say if you pick it up, the hammer, if you're worthy, the hammer should still kill you if you're human. It shouldn't just transform you into like an Asgardian.
Why would
Especially
the
if they're
hammer
trying
wouldn't
to.
kill you? You either can't pick it up because you're not worthy, or if you are worthy, you can pick it up, and in which case it
It should
bestows
do
the
nothing for
powers
you.
of Thor.
No, I honestly I think even if you're worthy to pick it up, it shouldn't do anything for you. Like I said, it should only because the power they revealed is not Mjolnir. The power is Thor.
Well, no,
So it
but the
should
hammer has
yeah,
powers too.
it shouldn't have any powers really. It should just be
Well,
a hammer he throws around.
those of us who
Either the
like the
powers,
Norse, those
either
of
his
us that like the
powers,
Norse mythos
yeah,
disagree. It's a magical hammer
e-
forged by
either
the gods.
yeah,
Now, it
either
shouldn't turn you into Thor. I agree.
yeah.
And Thor is the god of thunder without the hammer. Like, there's Thor and then there's his hammer. And together, they're more powerful, like the sum of the whole. Like Mjolnir by itself and Thor by himself, each, it's like 2 plus 2 equals 4. So, when Jane Foster picked up the hammer, she should only have been 2, not 4,
Like
right? She should have been
like
half
games
of it.
before the MCU, when it came to Thor, I thought all his powers only came from the hammer. If he dropped the hammer, he didn't have the power of Thor. He didn't have his power because Odin took his powers away from him. Because Odin was a game of a
That's
magical hammer.
that's the
Yeah,
pre Simonson Thor.
yeah.
Was, yeah, the um
So
what's his, I forget the name of the,
so so when so
Donald Blake.
when so when we saw it in the MCU, all of a sudden he's like, I don't need the hammer. I can just use lightning by myself. It's like, what's the point of the hammer then?
The hammer is his weapon. It's a magical weapon that does have its own properties, one of which
No, but I
is
mean,
it
but
can't
I
be
mean,
picked
like
up by anyone.
it says the whole point is like you get Thor's power if you lift the hammer. Like I just like I said, it should just be like Sith sword. It should either it's something for him that it's either the hammer is only that he can pick it up, and it channels his it's a focus point for his energy, like his powers. It helps him focus, like something used for
Well,
that.
it's like Odin's ravens, right? Like,
Yeah.
Odin got all these powers, but through his ravens, he can see through the ravens. Like, without the ravens, he can't do that. So it's limited. Thor without his hammer is still Thor, but does not have all the powers that the hammer has. The hammer doesn't have everything of Thor, though, that makes him up, right? Like, Thor is still a pretty formidable being without his hammer, but that hammer is it's his weapon. For fantasy nerds like me, we get it. It's like King Arthur. Yeah, he could fight without Excalibur, but Excalibur made him better. You know,
But
um,
yeah, let's just go back to how much. Honestly, let's just go back to pre Simonson Thor, where if you pick up the hammer, Thor possesses your
boo,
body now.
boo,
Your body is now taken possessed over by Thor.
boo. Simonson Thor is the definitive Thor. We need to go back to that. Um,
Uh,
so welcome to Helam to the chat. Austin P joined before. I didn't say welcome. And Jay was here, but I think he's off playing Nintendo also. So I think he left. But if you're still listening, Jay, sorry I didn't say hi. Um, what do you guys think about this whole Thor stuff, or do you even care? just, um, I'm just in the rant mode. Um, I just saw this and I was like, my eyes rolled back into my head. And Thor's one of my favorite characters in the Marvel universe. And part of it's just because I'm also just have an affinity for Norse mythos, and it just makes me go cross-eyed to see what they're doing to him. Like, he needs fire powers. Like,
My
What are you do?
boy.
What are you doing? It's like Hercules, right? And you're like, oh, we got a Hercules. Like, let's give him like spider powers. Like what? That's not classic Hercules. Like people who would want to read a Hercules book would probably have some connection to the mythical character. Why would you? Why would you do this? Like Thor doesn't. It's not. There's nothing fire about Thor, right? What I'm waiting for is the big twist reveal. This is what I would do if I was in Marvel, and if I was part of the woke crowd, I would turn it out to be that this was all a big lie by Loki, and that his mother is actually Surtur, but Surtur is actually trans. So Surtur used to be woman, but now is a man, and his flame powers aren't actually Phoenix; it's Surtur, and it's just like no. That would be wicked. That'd be a fun story. That'd be a twist you wouldn't see coming.
Surtur is his father, and Freya cheated on Odin with Surtur.
Oh, you could do that way too. But I think the trans
Yeah,
aspect, there's something there.
and you can have Surtur. He's just in the style. You can have him being voiced by Jack Black.
Or if it's
Pages,
Surtur,
pages, pages,
here's the thing: is
pages.
Surtur being trans, and Odin's dead, so so it's Odin, so Thor now has a father again. His mother is now his father. Never mind that. Just Eric says, Herter. Bravo, that's a good one. Get it instead of Sir.
Surtur.
Instead of
It's
Sir.
like think of the chef, the Swedish chef, though.
Surtur. But wouldn't instead of Sir Tur, wouldn't it be Mam Tur? Because Mam and Sir. Anyway, went too far with that
This
one.
girl is on fire.
There's Echo, the character that no one's ever gonna like, no matter how much they try to prop her up with this stupid nonsense. They, I, the Disney gives her a stupid show. They're idiots. It's gonna fail bigger than anything that they've ever done. No one cares about your handicapped, like intersectional. Is she gay too? Like I'm trying to see if like she ticks all the boxes.
I don't know. I honestly don't
Because
care what
she's
she does.
handicapped and she's a
She's no Alex
minority and she's a
Danvers.
woman, so she's got to. If
She's
she
no
if
no. She's no Alex Danvers. So why do we care?
well, I mean, I care if she's gay because that means she's minority, a woman, handicapped, and then
Isn't she? Yeah,
queer.
isn't she? Isn't she already deaf too?
Zach says she's not gay. Well, all we need to do is bring Tom Taylor over and we can fix that, Zach. Unfortunately, Tom Taylor will be too busy with The Flash, so that won't happen.
And Ezra Miller. Oh
uh,
my.
Eric says, why are you even talking about Marvel when there's actual good comics out? Thank you, Eric, for calling us out.
Yes.
Let's go to good
Yes.
comics.
Um.
Shall we?
Yeah. We can talk about good comics
We'll
if you
talk
want to.
about good comics. Bring up on the screen for you.
Just good comics. So we can't talk about certain ones then.
There's a lot we can't talk about if it's only good comics. So last week, some good comics came. Last week was a really big week for most of us, right?
Yeah.
You and I
There's a
think had
lot of
like 6 books crossing over just between us.
pretty much. Looking at last week's pull lists. Uh. Well, there was something epic, obviously. Junkyard Joe, Nemesis, Ambassadors. I think you said you read Green Lantern as well. But
Yeah. Samurai Doggy came out. Noctera
yep,
came out.
yep.
I mean, Batman Generation
White Knight.
Joker.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was just thinking of the books that you and I both buy together, like aside from the ones that we get separate. Um, yeah, so quite a few. We're going to talk about at least 3 of them tonight. Um, we'll talk about the first one is Ambassadors, if you don't mind. Skip has joined us. Welcome, Skip. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're feeling well tonight. And All right, we got a good comic to talk about.
And
I don't know if Eric is reading this. I don't know if this qualifies. Breen will have to let us know if this qualifies to him as a good comic.
just to give a little small recap for Skip in case you missed it. For 10 minutes we talked about Jason Ayers' Avengers, how bad it was, and then we talked about Jim McKay's Avengers, and well, it'll be a good book. But then Ash saw
You know, there's a
fire,
rewind button,
and
and you can just go watch.
I've seen Ash saw fire, but he didn't see rain. He just saw fire powered Thor. Yeah, and there's a new Thor coming out. Yes.
We were stalling for time till Skip got here. Now he's here, and now we can talk
Well,
about good books.
hey, comrade, we will not talk about stalling for.
So, Ambassadors. They're on issue number 4 of this highly lauded, highly anticipated series from comic superstar Mark Miller. What did you think?
Honestly, I like this. I like more the ending of this because the fact that it actually tells you more about what's going on. The problem I had with the past couple of issues is like, all right, you're showing me stuff at the end, but there's no resolution or about what's going on. Going to continue the plot. This said, but DC did for me what I hoped the series was going to do. The fact that I like the fact that they did in issue 4. That means we still got 2 issues we can just have the conflict, and then I don't know if he's going to take a break and then come back for a second volume and then finish it. Like I don't know if he's going to leave us on a cliffhanger. I hope not. But overall, I was like, who the heck is this girl? As I'm reading, I'm like, oh, that's what this. And it's like, man, I was kind of like, so I don't want to. There was good things and bad things.
This is my
Uh,
mm,
South
this
America,
this
Brazil.
is if not my least favorite, it's my second. It's one of the two. I haven't been able to decide which if it's my favorite or least favorite.
It's so you basically get
So
this
far.
priest. Yeah, this priest basically holding out in this city that's basically has become so corrupt. First, he said it was basically the drug lords, but then the cops came in. The cops killed the drug lords, and now the cops are basically much the new drug lords. And he calls them out and he says like, "You guys are just horrible people," And we introduce the girl on the cover here. We see her going in, sneaking this place, and then she comes this guy and she says, basically she says like you're gonna work for my boss now, the captain, of the team, and you're gonna be his you know his butler, and your wife and children are gonna be his maids and stuff. And like, okay, so basically we've learned that this woman here is basically not that very good of a person. She's a corrupt cop. She's working, and so at this point I'm like, oh, really? I don't care for this so far. But let's go into it though. I mean, I do like the art though. You know, you don't need that many dialogue in here. You just see the two things like, oh, what's going on, and then you see boom, boom, boom. There you go.
Real quick. Skip and Austin are leaving, so say goodnight to both of you guys. Sorry that you're leaving. I was waiting for Skip to get here and do the comics, and now he's got to go. And Austin, I guess maybe we're spoil the books. So Austin doesn't want to stick around for the spoilers. I'm not sure, but take care, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you again. Sorry to interrupt you, RDB.
No, it's okay. Like I said, I did like this kind of panel here. How many dialogue boxes do you see? At least there's a little box up there, and then there's 3 bubbles, speech
Right.
bubbles, and you don't, and that's all you need for certain pages because sometimes the art speaks for itself. Guys, yeah, what's going on? And then you just look, and then you hear, see, another. I love these action panel scenes. That I
Yep.
mean that it has it going for it.
Well, this is Mark Miller is a competent writer, and he knows how to write. He knows how to
Where to play it.
write like I don't want to say action, but when I say action, I'm not talking about like action scenes, but like things happening. Not everything is people talking, right? A lot of times,
Sure, John Wick. This example.
well, John Wick is pretty much all action, but sometimes story things happening. It's just it's visual. It's I'm struggling to think of like a good example right now, but you don't need to always have dialogue at every single thing that's like happening. Like if you're driving to work in the morning, are you constantly talking while you're driving? Like no, like that's just not how people. You go to the grocery store to buy groceries. Are you talking the whole time while you're doing? No, you're not. Like throughout our lives, like people are doing things. Most of the time, we're not talking. And what I notice about like a lot of the incompetent writers in the industry today, they don't think like that. They think story is words, which if you're writing, say, like a novel, like you're writing prose, yeah, you have to, everything is a descriptor because you don't have art to rely on. But if you're doing a visual medium like a movie or a comic book, you can rely on what you're showing to tell you what's happening. And here we don't need this character to be constantly talking like, but saying whatever she might say and ruining it. And anyways, I'm just all this is to say is that Mark Miller is great. I don't want to say he's a great writer. He's a really good writer. He's a very competent writer, very seasoned, journeyman of his craft. He knows what he's doing, and it shows.
Hmm. So I said, now looking at this, look at the art and the guns. This kind of almost reminds you of Nemesis when you get the action scenes. A similar concept. You have a little dialogue, and you said like, and you go to straight to the action panels. Usually, it's gunfight stuff. Uh, so we're basically reintroduced the character that's on the cover of the book, who I had no idea who it was when I first went to go read it. I was like, who the heck is this person? Why do I care about her? I'm like, he's supposed to be the new Avatar, or not new Avatar, but the new person that's going to join the team. At this point, I did not know, but you see, if it's like, oh, I go into confession. He's like, really? You confessing to me? But you keep going doing the same thing over and over again. Pretty much calls her out, calls her a hypocrite,
Mm-hmm.
which I liked, and I'm like, and then we find out that he's actually the priest is the one that's actually selected. He's like, I can't. I have a higher calling, I can't be playing superheroes, but what if I took, what if we, did something else, and so then you find out, like, because the girl did show remorse. So, like, I'll give that. The girl showed remorse. She doesn't know what she signed up for, be a cop, change, but now she's, and she's stuck in it. She can't get out. So I like the fact that he's talking to his wife and all that stuff, and he's like, and like, okay, she's here. He says, but he's talking about the whole thing. He says like, but they're talking about the whole as far as what's going on with their city and stuff, and he's basically just kind of contemplating. He's like, I say, God help me, we'll be safe. Don't worry, I don't need no magic, bracelets in order to protect us and all that stuff. And then you see her. She's basically been told that they'll kill the priest because the priest has been causing the problem. So and then she goes in there and like goes to pull the gun, and like he basically talks to her. It's like, and tells everything what's going on, and
You
then
don't have to
yeah.
give a play by play of the whole book.
Oh, no. I'm just saying it's that I said that part was interesting though. Like they kind of have like a little bit of like a moment. She's basically trying to kill her, but then you find out like you're thinking like, oh my gosh, did he kill her? And like this point because you see him think, but then you hear like his like someone's calling, saying something, and then you know you here's your cars. You have 5 seconds to get out of your house and leave. And then his house. It's basically Iron Man 3. It gets leveled. But then, like, you're led to believe, like, in that last panel, a couple pages before, that it's actually the guy. But when it's revealed that it's the girl, it's basically he gave her the power to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, now that's okay. They're making sense because, she wants to be a cop, but she can't be a cop because, you know, she needs to work outside the system.
So
But,
a couple things bothered me about this book. The main thing is this character Z, the girl here. And I guess
yeah.
before I say like what bothered me, I'm gonna say what I liked. Number one is I really liked the portrayal of the priest. Being a Christian, being a person who often rolls my eyes as soon as any secular piece of work tries to portray my faith in things, it's usually done way wrong. And then I'm just like, this is not how it is. And like, no wonder people think what I believe is stupid because they get it wrong. I really liked that they. I don't want to say like that Mark nailed it, but he didn't. He didn't portray it poorly. Like I really like that the fact that this guy was like, no, like I'm devoted to God. I'm not here to play your superhero games. Like I got a bigger calling. I really
Yeah.
like that. I really like that he was acting on faith when he's talking to his pregnant wife here and he's telling her the story about his experience basically at Willy Wonka Land. I think of the Korean girl as kind of like a Willy Wonka figure. Um, and he's basically telling him, he's like basically how I turn it down, and she says, "I really don't see a downside to all this. You know, that wristband could keep you from safe from the assassination squads because they're in Rio and there's a lot of crime and people want him dead and stuff." And he just responds, "God will keep me safe." And she's like, "What about the baby? God will keep the baby safe too. This wasn't why it was called the Doom Maria. This was never part of the plan." And he has faith, and so she is a corrupt cop, and she goes to confession to him. He has faith in her and believes, and he's doing what a priest does. Like you're trying to minister to the flock. She's the one that's called to assassinate him because she's all the cops are corrupt, and so she of course falls in line because if she's not corrupt, she's going to be ousted. So a lot of people fall into corruption not because they themselves want to be, because they're desiring to be wicked. A lot of people fall into evil simply to get along. And that's man, I think that's what's such a great underlying thing that Mark never preaches in the book here, but it's such like a universal truth in my opinion. And this guy, he tells her like, "Hello, Z, I heard a rumor you were coming to me today. Don't turn around, Father. I don't want you to look when I pull this trigger." And he tells her the story. "Oh, last night I had this, I went to the South Pole and a woman I never met, she gave me a magic wristband, blah, 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 blah." And long story short, we end up finding out that he passes that power onto her. And so she goes and takes care of the local
See
gang
right there,
guy.
that, that page back there. I think it's a guy just by what the avatar is. And
Yeah.
normally you would think the priest did this.
Yep, yep, yep. Hmm. And
So I
so
like that. And you're like,
yeah,
what the heck?
so she stops, and so you can see like she was trapped. And it's just a really interesting kind of analog about how this priest saves this woman by bringing her into truth. I don't want to get too preachy here, but it's just a very interesting way that Mark handles it. And I don't think Mark is, I wouldn't even think that Mark is Christian based on the fact that he wrote a kind of a blasphemous Jesus book. But, um,
He believes in second chances.
but these are universal things. You don't have to necessarily share my belief or same faith as I do. Things are just real. And I believe that people that are secular that don't believe in God still come to the same conclusions. Um, and anyways, so I did like that. I liked it, felt kind of authentic. It felt kind of real. Now, what I didn't like, and this is just subjective, I didn't like this idea that you could just like pass off your wristband, right? You have this big search, right? It's like we're gonna only choose 6 people to give powers to, and people are applying, and blah blah, and who are you gonna pick? And this idea that's like, well, I don't really want it. I want this person to have it, and like, oh, okay. So like, to me, I was like, wait, they just accept her? Like, she was a total corrupt cop. Like, this is not a person I would pick to hand the powers to. I get why the priest did, but if I were this woman, I'd be like, no, we didn't pick you. we pick the priest. And this was a similar type thing that I had in the previous issue with the mom just being like, "Oh, my son gets to come along too. Okay, we'll give him powers." Like, what? Why? Like, but look, it's Mark's comic and it's his rules. I just kind of wish there was something like the story would have addressed it. You know, why is this acceptable? Why should I believe it? It's just the way it's written is just sort of like, yep, you can just hand your golden ticket to anyone and they'll take it and blah blah blah, and we don't know why. Um, the other thing that
You,
I
you
didn't,
I would say this though.
mhm.
I don't think he just blatantly handed it. I think remember he said he was at the South Pole, so obviously he probably talked to her. He says, you know what, there's someone else better I have in mind, and probably talked it over with the main lady. No,
Maybe, but I
that's what
mean,
I think
there's
he
there's
did.
billions of people on the planet, and literally before this girl's a superhero, she's about to kill a priest.
Well, we don't know.
Not because he did something
Just
wrong, but because he's doing good and she's corrupt.
I think who knows? I mean, that's the problem with the still animation here. Maybe honestly, if this is a live action or something like that, maybe she would have been like hesitating a little bit because she's doesn't want to do this. We don't know how many people people she's killed before. All we know is she's killed in the beginning of this issue. You see her killing a bunch of criminals.
And we know that she works with the corrupt police. And she's
Yeah.
telling the father,
Well,
she says, "Stop talking, father. I don't want to make this more painful than it has to be." And then he says, "You're
yeah,
not going to hurt anyone, Z, ever again."
but
And
we don't get to see
he
their
activates the
conversation
Rip
though.
Van.
Yeah. We don't
Well,
get to see their conversation after that though. So there's a
there's no
lot
reason.
unsaid.
There's no reason to presume that she's magnanimous here.
But
Like,
there's no reason to presume that she was just gonna pull the trigger either.
she's got him in an
It,
execution position with the gun.
it could go either way. You never watch a movie where the person hesitates. They're a decent person down, but they don't want to do it. That's what she's telling him. Don't turn and look at me, because if he turns ahead and looks at her, she's gonna flake. Like I said,
Well,
it can go either way. My
except
opinion.
he activates the power.
He does to
Now,
convince her.
what's that power do that we see with the little hexes? Makes you
Shield.
bulletproof.
Yep.
So here's my thing. Again, and I know comics are a confined space. You only have so many pages to tell your story. My problem here is that we know Z doesn't kill him. That's good. But the resolution of why she doesn't kill him seems to be because he offers her a golden ticket rather than her saying, "You know what? I can't do it. I was sent here to kill you and I can't do it." And then the priest says, "I knew you couldn't do it, and that's why I'm going to offer you this thing." Right? Like that would then show, but to me I read this and go, "Well, she was going to do it until she was offered something better." And that to me is not true like virtue. And to be this woman who's trying to select these people, I'm having a hard time. Now again, I'm being super nitpicky here. I do like this comic and I do recommend this comic. I'm only being transparent of saying what didn't work 100% for me and why it detracted from the previous issues. The
Holy
other
crap!
thing is,
I just did you notice that they drew her having a butt crack? I haven't seen that in a while in the comics.
oh, baby's got back. No.
This Marvel
Um,
DC, it'd be a flat surface.
Here's the thing. Now, the other thing is Olivier Copier's art. And I'm going to catch some flack on this because I'm not a huge fan of his art. Now,
I like it.
let me first say, from an aesthetic point of view, as just an illustrator, I think he draws very beautifully. Like I look here and I go, this is really good drawing. Every page, his art, for the most part, um, is well rendered illustrations. They look pretty on the page. My problem is, as a storyteller, these layouts just did not flow. Um, and I think it's more noticeable to me also because Mark Miller's taken some of the best artists working today and put them on these books. Um, so I think Copier's layouts and his sequential storytelling isn't the best. Um, and again, this is just me kind of nitpicking, but as a person who just draws pictures, it is beautiful. So I understand why people like him.
Yeah.
And there are panels I love. I love this scene of her, the close up where she's looking over the sunglasses. That's a really cool illustration. But he doesn't. I don't think he thinks like a comic artist. I think he thinks just like an illustrator. Like
Or a
if you're
TV
drawing
show.
a single picture, he's got great composition. The panel above it with the gun to this guy's forehead. Um, I just like even down to the eyes. Like his eyes are focused on the barrel, and you can see how like that attention to detail. I love. It really helps sell the shot. Um, but anyways, that's just me. Bravo to Mark for having the story of the priest. I think the priest story was the most interesting aspect. I wish there was kind of more of it. Um,
But the big takeaway though is the ending part. We've realized now that the ex husband of the main Korean lady has powers, and he's basically offering other people to join. Like no, they're recruiting. They have their own supervillain team. And also, it looks like the dictator from North Korea. Uh,
yeah, it's weird
but
how they changed his look in this.
but I was looking to see now they got all these people here, but none of them are the people that that lady there who works for him was approaching are there. Like none of the heroes. I don't see
No,
any of them there.
no. So these guys that are in this picture, these are all billionaires. So this is like a special club. He says very well. We're a little more than exclusive. Sorry, this guy shows up. He says, "I feel like I'm in Skull and Bones again, dude." Well, we're a little bit more exclusive than that, Bryn. Our special club is just the billionaires in this room, and if you sign up, that brings us to 41. So this guy is not just collecting like the best people; he's collecting all like rich elites. And I'm presuming he's given these rich elites powers.
Also, the notice where the villain's headquarters is. San Francisco.
Well, you have to be a billionaire to live in San Francisco.
But
That's a
I do
property
like this
price joke.
that he's like those heroes will be a problem. Kingpin. No, smashes the table. That's what I think of the Kingpin when he smashes the table. So my now here's now possible theories in this. He shows he has power, but how is it limited? Does he need to keep himself giving injections? I mean, is it a botched serum? You know,
Really good question.
or does he actually have legitimately only super strength? You know,
We
where
don't
she seems
know.
to have nanobites or nanobots that give people powers. Where his, I don't see anything like that. I don't see him wearing a wrist gauntlet or like that stuff. So I'm curious to see where he gets his powers from. We know he's experimenting, but we don't know what.
We also know from the first issue there's that guy with the powers that he reappeared in issue
True,
3, and he
but
seems
he's not here.
really powerful. Um,
He's
I
a
don't
Magneto.
I don't know what he's all about.
Oh, I
This
said
is
he seems like yeah, he's he's one of his that powers, and he doesn't want anybody else to have powers.
so
So
what I'm liking about this series is also the thing that I don't like about this series. I like origin stories. I really do. I really love the story of how someone becomes the hero that they are. Um, and not just how they get their powers. I'm talking about like what is their motivating factor. The story of Peter Parker letting the criminal go because he's like, why should I care? And then that criminal goes and kills his uncle. And that basically is kind of like God saying, that's why you should care, dude. And then Peter Parker has the awakening moment and goes, oh, and then adopts the mantra that his father, or his uncle always said. If I was saying father, I was misspeaking. his uncle always said, "Is great power comes great responsibility." So when he gets the power, it's like, and it's like that is such a powerful story of hard lessons learned and how that would ingrain into someone like never again. I have the power to help someone. I'm never gonna again. I know what it's like to not. I love those type of stories, and Mark Miller has an opportunity here to kind of give us these stories of like, hey, look, these people they're being selected. The problem is these stories don't have a lot of room to breathe, so they feel really rushed. So while I'm getting sort of an origin, which I like, it's really quick and summarized, and I feel like I feel like I could almost have a 6-issue miniseries for each of these characters. I know that would be a lot, but like I wouldn't mind reading it. Each one is like 6 issues of how kind of what Jeff Johns is doing actually with the unnamed. 6 issues of Geiger. Then now we got 6 issues of Junkyard Joe, and eventually they're all going to come together. But we get that nice in depth story that makes us care about these characters. What about you?
I want the Geigerverse Millerverse crossover, like Marvel versus
Oh,
DC.
jeez.
That's what I want.
Well, maybe after Big Game we'll go Big Game 2. After
Yeah,
after Miller crosses over all his stuff, then he goes, "All right, next we're gonna do a sequel, and we cross over with all these other guys."
Miller versus Johns, big game 2.
Let's see what the comments are saying here. Ronnie says people may not talk aloud, but they do have internal monologue, aka thoughts, that's happening around them, and that's a very good point. And I actually really do like internal monologue used in comics when it's used well. Part of the reason I like Frank Miller so much, I feel like he does internal monologue so awesome. Um, Unfortunately, modern comics doesn't use that too much these days, and so they replace internal monologue with just lots of talking. Um, but but yes, you bring up a great point. I personally miss the insight that a well-placed thought bubble gives the character, especially when the speech and actions are completely opposite to the internal monologue thoughts. And I am with you, 100% agree. Comics have been turned into movies. Somewhere along the lines, the industry thought it was dumb to have thought balloons, and so now every comic is written like a movie. And just like in Hollywood, somewhere along the lines, I think it was the 80s, that Hollywood thought it was dumb to have the voiceovers. Because I don't know if you guys remember, if you're old enough to remember, movies used to have, not every movie, obviously, but a lot of movies, it wasn't uncommon for movies to have voiceovers. A very popular one, or a very well known one, is Blade Runner, which has been edited over and over. There's like 5 cuts of Blade Runner now, but the original Blade Runner was in theaters. They put Harrison Ford in, and he did like a voiceover um, as the movie played, which kind of gave you this internal monologue. And some people criticized it because it was like, well, the movie didn't need it, and it was just like treating your audience like it was dumb. So now there's like a cut without the voiceover. But suffice it to say, Hollywood doesn't like doing it. It's out of style, and comics have become that way too, where it's just they want to emulate the movies, and just like in the movies where you don't get into the head of the character, either you in the comics. So it does change how the approach to writing. Tehillim says she is probably the traitor. Oh, uh, you're talking about the girl in this book being the possible. I don't know. I don't know if there is going to be a traitor. I guess that's possible. That will only, you know what though? If she's a traitor, that will only make me more frustrated because that will only like add to my point of like why she shouldn't be selected. And then if it turned out she was a traitor, I'd be like, see, this is what this is so stupid. It's like Peter Parker revealing his identity. It's like it's stupid. And then you then tell a story where like Aunt May gets murdered because someone goes, "Oh, I know who Spider-Man is. It's Peter Parker. I'm gonna go murder his aunt." And then you go, "Yeah, you only proved my point that it's stupid that Peter Parker reveals his identity." So I hope that doesn't happen actually. Um, it's entirely possible that a future plotline will deal with the corrupt cop getting the powers and leading up to the absolute power corrupts absolute theory. Sure. Same comment. And Copier has the Alex Ross fallacy in terms of making pretty pictures but not dynamic layouts like Kirby or other old school comic artists. A good point. Um, very astute point from Maranya. Uh, any uh, any final thoughts that you would like to say about this book? I'll give you the floor.
Uh,
You don't have to. I just want to make sure.
just that, baby, you're a firework.
What?
You never watched the interview?
No.
Yeah, I haven't watched it all. So the Kim Jong Un is a fan of Katy Perry, so he loves the song
I
"Fireworks."
thought you were the one that hated Seth Rogen.
I watch it for James Franco. I don't care about Seth Rogen. James Franco is
Well,
what I watch it for. Um,
if
but
you say so.
it's funny, as you said. That was so. Whenever I see, he's like, it looks like Kim Jong Un. You know.
All right, so we have another anticipated comic. This is my number 2 anticipated comic, I think, for the week. Um, when it came out, and this is also by Mark Miller. It's called Nemesis Reloaded. And did this comic live up to your expectations?
Honestly, I felt it kind of shallow landing. It's like, oh, it's just basically all this was just a stepping stone to the big game. I was like, you could have done this in a one shot then.
I
I
didn't.
mean, it's great art. I love the clothes, it's but other than that, it's just like I don't know, like I said, it's got. I mean, I love there's the shocking and the revealing though. I did like that was crazy, but I mean, like I just felt kind of like so cheated out. It's like really so everything he did, the guy just walks away with it. No
So
one can touch him. Yeah.
I hear your point. I think there's a lot of validity to your point. However, I'm gonna I'm gonna propose I'm gonna propose a different idea that while you're not wrong, I think there was more to this book than just that. Um,
His punchline took her sister.
punchline. Well, I mean, it's a Batman ripoff, right? So,
Yeah. Miracle Molly
heavy
punchline.
spoilers ahead, folks. So this book, I've heard some complaints about this book, like what you just said, but also that it was just about the bad guy winning. And from the very beginning, he's kicking ass, taking names, and at the end, he just also wins. And people finding that not very interesting. And I can totally understand. But I don't really think that this book, in retrospect, is about that. I think I think the whole idea of Nemesis kicking ass is sort of a red herring. It's not really what this book is about. So the mayor guy he gets captured, or yeah, because he Nemesis basically makes him turn himself in. He straps him to a nuclear bomb, and he's playing 20 questions here. He's got to tell the truth, or the whole city gets nuked. And because the
How big
mayor,
is your penis? Sorry.
we'll get to that. Because the mayor is such a good guy, right? He's gonna play along, or at least at the very least, he's selfish, doesn't want to die, and so Nemesis is asking him these questions, and he's telling the truth. There is a scene where he asks him what the size of his penis is, and I just rolled my eyes, um, because this is the Mark Millar that I don't like. This the crass, like, oh, it's like the dick joke. It's funny, but it's not really. It's not a funny dick joke. It's and of course, even worse. Like I think this would have worked better if the guy was like had a small penis and he had to admit it. But he's just like 8 inches erect, 5 inches flaccid, 5.4 inches girth. Like, oh, okay, so you're what's the name of that famous porn star that's super well hung? I
Oh,
forget. Anyway,
he's nowhere near that guy. That guy had 14 inches.
no one has 14 inches.
It was John Holmes. He was a
Like,
record. He was record to have 14 inches.
oh my god, some surgical. That's like,
There's
um,
your useless porn facts for the day.
I'm thinking the other guy, Jeremy,
Oh, Ron Jeremy. I don't
Ron
know.
Jeremy.
I never.
Anyways, I don't.
I,
Anyways,
I,
my point was, is like, oh look, he's super well hung, like
who
whatever.
cares?
Yeah, and like I'm just like, am I supposed to be impressed that a fictional character is like,
Just
uh,
fuck with them.
it's
Yeah.
just yeah, like I'm. If he would have been like, oh, it's 5 inches erect, and you know,
I
I'd have been
just want Batman. I just want a crossover and Batman coming in and just beating the shit out of Nemesis. You know,
no,
that's
I don't. I
literally what I
wouldn't.
want. 'Cause
I wouldn't want that. But
I would.
anyways, so we get past that. It's one panel, so I'm not super hot. You know, I'm not super fired up. Like it's whatever. I rolled my
It
eyes and
just
moved on.
wants to basically expose them that they was corrupt, and
Yeah.
like it just felt like okay, we learned that this Saint cop isn't as clean as he is. It's for his own personal vendetta. But then you find out it's like, but that was never the main goal. It was just like a side story. But it's like so basically, he just murdered all these people, you know, for no reason other than the fact that oh he just oh you killed my parents blah 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 you framed them for this you know because you know you guys are a piece of shit you know cool um but the whole thing he went on about like I said it's there's nothing redeemable about this character and that's the whole point I guess he's a nemesis he's a villain and it's
Well,
like so basically
let me. Forgive me. You're derailing where I was trying to go.
I'm trying to get past it.
Right, but you're. I'm not going to be able to make my point if because I'm trying to illustrate why this book is not about Nemesis just kicking ass. So he makes the hero character, the mayor, confess this time that he did something pretty bad. He what it was is he framed basically Nemesis's parents because there was this one case that he could never solve and he was a superstar cop, he was on the uprise and he was genuinely we're led to believe like a good cop. But this is one time where he slipped and he did this really bad thing and it's not excusable, but the dude's also human. Like we shouldn't expect that this guy is just purity. And like most people, like keep their skeletons in their closet. We can presume that he hasn't done anything since, but that little boy, those two people that he framed had a little boy and grew up to be Nemesis. So we understand now Nemesis's motivations, and he does what Nemesis does. He ends up burying the cop in with his parents, um, and there's no like fight scene. There's no listen, and this is what I'm trying to get to about. I don't think it's about him defeating the hero character. He just puts the guy in the ground and moves on with his story. Now we get a flashback scene of this woman whose name I forget, but the secret society that Nemesis was brought up under has trained him under all these things. What they trained him for was this mission. This woman lives in this castle and she's got in this room this secret thing that he's supposed to get and she's not impressed. And I really like this whole scene here. If you just like action comics and things like that, the whole comic we had leading up to this far is showing how badass Nemesis is. And this idea of like, is this cop? How's this cop? That's a red herring. It's about facing this woman. Again, this is a flashback, and she's not impressed. She talks about how like, oh, there's all these others that have come. I killed them too. And she can go in through mirrors, so she's got powers. And he's like, what? And when I was reading this, I was like, wait a second. There's no one with powers in this book. Like Nemesis is like Batman type analog. He's highly trained. There's no never had any powers in this. So this is weird to me. This perked my interest. And so he's fighting her, and she can go through the mirrors, um, and she's pretty badass, and she's whooping his ass. Now, naturally, spoilers. Nemesis figures it out how to use the mirrors, and with his freeze gun, he ends up getting her trapped, and then he slices her head off because he doesn't waste time, and he's Nemesis. He's a badass. But it was a really cool fight, and that gave what comics should do is have good action scenes. And then we get this backstory that rich guy from the beginning is actually Nemesis's alter ego that he hides, and I thought that was a cool reveal.
Yeah, he's Jim
Um,
Steranko.
Jim Sheriko. And I won't care about these the whole couple. You can read the book to learn about them. So we get the mentor of Nemesis, right? The secret society guy that raised him. He brings his head back, and he's like, "What was in the room?" Blah blah blah. So we get this reveal that we remember it piqued our interest around issue 3 about the missing president from 1980, and it's like, "Whoa, there's a missing president, Ernest George Marshall," and that's finally answered. And it's a big spoiler. Turns out that the reason why is there used to be superheroes in the world, and there was a big crisis, and things happened, and all the superheroes were defeated, and because all this in it says 1986, all the supervillains got together and beat the heroes once and for all. They took the world over and made us forget that the superheroes had even existed, and now we only remember them in our dreams. And so he explains that's why we so cling to like superhero movies and stuff. And what was I found very interesting is this comic is almost trying to play as if this is our reality, because we live in the same type of world. We live in a world where we cling like superhero movies, the MCU, everything's popular. We're gravitating towards superheroes. You're sitting here listening to a YouTube channel about people talking about superheroes. And I'm like, oh, this book is trying to draw an analog that it's our world. And then we get the final reveal about the trophies, like a trophy from the great battle. That was what was in the room. The only proof that the big guy ever lived. And we all know whose cape that is. Obviously, trademark infringement. You can't say the big guy, but and of course, if he's the Batman analog, who would beat Superman? I thought that was a kind of a interesting way that Mark Miller would tell this story. And tell a
That
world
Batman's
about,
always been a villain,
well, in
right?
this world, that yeah, there's no there are no heroes, there's no Superman, because in this world Batman didn't grow up to be Batman. He grew up to be Nemesis.
A villain.
Um and so he can't tell that because he doesn't have the rights to those characters. But I kind of almost feel like if Mark Miller was writing for DC, that's what this would have been. Like um and
You mean like Red Sun?
well, Red Sun's different. That's just what if Superman had been in the Soviet Union.
It's the
So
opposite, though. Yeah, yeah.
so the leader of the secret society finally unmasks himself and basically is like, "Hey, I'm a secret master of this thing." He's like, "We got big plans for the human race, and we need a man with your appetite for death and destruction. Are you interested?" And he's like, "Fuck yeah, good." And he's like, "Welcome to the fraternity." So turns out the villains are all still around. So it's a world with no heroes, only villains, and no one even knows that the heroes existed. And the whole reason why is because they killed, you know, uh, Superman, essentially, the big guy, whoever that was, and that's it. And so it leads into starting in
Joker's
July, the first
Legacy.
ever Miller
Yeah, yeah.
crossover,
Yep.
and
So
I'm
that's who Ambassadors versus the Nemesis villains.
could be. I mean,
Because you remember
Ambassadors,
she's building. Yeah.
yeah, Ambassadors is listed as one of the books that is in the crossover. So I'm
They also have Prodigy, Nightclub.
very interested to see, like, some of these seem logical crossovers, and some of these are going to be like a stretch to me.
Well, Wanted is part of it too. I thought.
Yeah, Wanted's not listed here, but on this, them, there he is right in the middle.
Yeah.
So the cover here of it's got some nice Easter eggs. If you look down at the bottom, you can see the masks of the nightclub guys,
Yep. Yep.
and you can see the jacket from the Chrononauts.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so
I'm not sure whose belt that is, but
I
Yeah.
think that's Superior's belt.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, Spear up there in the group right corner. Prodigy's
So
Kane.
some of these, like, I don't see like how Reborn is gonna cross over. That's eh,
Well,
well,
Jupiter's Legacy. Like,
well, Jupiter's
it's
Legacy.
just a
Yeah, that would be weird. I mean, because they are heroes, but it feels like a different hero universe. We'll see. I'm very excited. Like, I thought that was a really good tease, but my point was it wasn't just a tease. I do think it was to be about a story about why does Nemesis's world exist. This wasn't a story necessarily about Nemesis just being a badass and whooping everyone, which he does, but also to kind of tell you this dun 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 M Night Shyamalan twist, like there used to be heroes once upon a time, and then all the villains beat them, and then they made it seem like so everyone forgot, and now the world thinks that heroes are just a myth, but the villains are really still out there. And I think that's just a really interesting premise. So Tehillim says he just finished his review for Nemesis. So Tehillim, hopefully everything RDV and I have talked about the book um, it, has matched up with what you've thought. I don't know. HR says he just read Nemesis and it was cool. I agree. I do think it's cool. Um, and Ronnie is talking about guys being hung. I don't even want to go back to that.
oh
Um,
my.
now I did say a lot about this book. Did I convince you in any way, or are you still
I'll stick around for the whole thing, but I mean, like, I just, yeah, I prefer the original.
okay? I'm
The
gonna go back and read the
original,
original.
yeah,
Because
I want. It's basically James Gordon
I
versus Batman.
I read it along like years ago, but I've totally forgotten the
I love
story. So
the twist ending for that one.
I'm gonna go back and reread it. I remember liking it, thinking it was really cool. Um, but I didn't want to go back and reread it while this was coming out, just in case there were similarities. So I was like, I'm just gonna hold off until
There, it's you could say it's basically Nemesis going after cops
yeah. I
and
mean,
killing them. Yeah,
now it
yeah.
doesn't matter
Like,
because the whole thing's over. But
but I
at the
mean,
time, I didn't want to read.
I'm thinking right now as far as similarities, he's targeting one guy, you know, throughout the thing. But for no, but like you said, they use a fake out as far as who is it. Oh, I'm so and so really this, but it turned out it's not really. He just uses the fake out story for his character. But honestly, I mean, I don't know. It's a world where all the heroes are dead. Like the part of me, the comic book person, me, as far as the capes person, I want somebody like this is the rise of the new heroes because there has to be balance. Otherwise, it's villains versus villains. There's no way I could believe that the villains could all work together after the heroes are gone. Honestly, they would turn each other. But
Yeah, unless there's a reason why they don't. But
unless
you're
because even if they're like what was that team? Like I look at them as a Squadron Supreme. If the Squadron Supreme, were to like win the over the world, eventually they'd squabble. They get each other's way because they don't really like each other. They're only working together because for a mutual benefit. Like I think it would just fall apart. But
depends.
so I want Chris, who's the leader?
You're
That's what I want to
right.
know.
I believe you're right, unless there's someone powerful enough that everyone fears. It's
Like
like
Vandal
keeps
Savage.
that basically he's like, look, you guys can go do whatever you want, but if you guys squabble, I'll just kill you. Because yeah, see this big guy, I killed him, so I'll kill you. Like
Yeah, we
um,
don't know the guy that took the mask off. The guy who was basically, the horn. We don't know what his powers are.
right. Yep.
Um, it is basically Dominic says it is referenced in Huck. There are still heroes up in the world, either those who escaped from the fraternity's reality warp, or there are still individuals with a heroic spirit to set things right. Oh, plot twist! Nemesis will revive the heroes.
Interesting. I mean, well, they're all dead, so I don't know how you revive them,
And,
but
and well, no, he can. well, not to revive. I'm saying he could bring back new people, like he did to take out the cops. Remember, he enlisted all these people to help him out.
Well, what if
You know?
Nemesis though? Here's an interesting idea. Tell me if this sounds interesting to you. Nemesis doesn't have any motivation anymore, right? Like his whole thing was like,
Yeah,
this guy killed
he
my
beco-
parents. Like, so he's
he
gotten
becomes the
his
hero.
revenge. So
Yeah.
not that he becomes a hero, but he clearly likes like chaos and conflict. He like seems to like really thrive on that. And he's
Hmm.
already gotten his enemy. He's already beaten his enemy. So what if he's just like, you know what? I'm not really about doing hero things, but I just want to like have adversaries. Like I want to be someone's nemesis. So I'll be all these
Yeah.
villains' nemesis. Like I'll just
Well,
he just does it for sport.
well, that's the thing. Yeah, like he said, he doesn't want competition.
Yeah, like maybe
Yeah,
he becomes
he's
kind
like,
of
I'm
like
gonna take
Batman,
over.
but not
Yeah.
because he's like I'm out for justice. He's like I'm out to like just be your nemesis. Like I'm just gonna. He's like the equivalent of like a troll in real life. Like a
Yeah.
griefer. He's like, yeah, I'm just stopping you because I can and it's fun. Like,
I'm bored. He just
yeah,
shoots a guy.
and they're like, what, dude? Like we're on the same side. It's like I'm on no one side. It's like that would be interesting. That would make the character really interesting to me. Like he does things that benefit Pete the
Only him.
Innocent, but not because he's good, but just because he likes being a nemesis. Like that would be really interesting. And the only people to fight against are the villains because all the heroes are dead, and all the villains are like, "Gosh, dang it! Like if we just had a hero, they would be fighting them instead of us." But now there's only us.
They recruit him, and I think he kills their downfall. He's the one who just starts taking him up. He's just like, yeah, I don't want to share. He's like the Joker, pretty much, in a sense. Joining the Legion of Doom. He's like, yeah, fuck that. I'm on my own. And like,
Uh,
he's like, yeah, because it'd be like if the Joker joined the Legion of Doom, he'd be like, Lex wouldn't want him at all because he wouldn't trust the guy. The guy's a loose cannon. He does what he wants. You can't control the Joker. Joker's like, I just want to have pure chaos. So he just starts killing off the other members. It's like, and it's like, really? It's like, but yeah, I mean, so basically the fraternity is from Jupiter's Legacy. I'm hearing, or Jupiter's. That's where the
yeah.
fraternity is from.
Dominic saying the
Or
world
Huck.
of Jupiter's Legacy is an alternate universe where the main Miller alternate universe of the main Miller War where the fraternity's plan failed.
Yeah.
I didn't get the impression that Mark Miller had like a Miller like a world. Like I always got the impression that all of his books were in their own universe, with the exception of a couple. The one thing that I heard him say was that Super Crooks and Jupiter's Legacy are in the same world. Um, the story of Jupiter's Legacy is really just a story about heroes only, but it's like the corruption of the heroes.
Isn't Progeny a hero?
Prodigy is like a hero. Prodigy is Mr. Terrific done right.
Yeah, I
I
only
know that's
read
going to trigger
I
some
only read those two
people.
issues of that second volume, but I got the feeling that he basically is a guy with a moral sense, so like
Yeah,
I could see him being that smart, reviving the heroes or creating new
I would
superheroes.
recommend to you going back and picking those
I
back
gotta
up.
read one.
Go
I
back.
gotta read volume one.
Yeah, read the. It's a really they're really quick reads. The first volume plays like a Mission Impossible movie. Like it when you read it, you'll be like, this is written to be made into a movie. It has all the same type of beats, all these
Yep.
action scenes, and it feels like a Mission Impossible movie. The second one added more mysticism and things like that. Plays a little differently, but still kind of an action. I like the second one story overall better, but the first one was just really straightforward, like action. They're both entertaining. I recommend. I have not read all these books. I haven't read Sharky or Starlight or Superior or MPH or Huck or Empress or Space Bandits. Man, I'm like, I gotta go start reading a bunch of these before the Miller World crossover event. Um,
So basically, this is where your next book club book is
oh
all
man,
these.
well I'm gonna have to. These are coming out in July, so the month of June is gonna be Miller Ash is going to be just reading tons of Miller. We're reading Magic Order in the book club, at least the first volume. I've read all of Jupiter's Legacy, Nemesis, Kick-Ass. I haven't read Kingsman, but I've seen the movies. Um, so yeah, I planned on getting all of these eventually, but now with this crossover coming, I feel like I need to step up to the plate and just because I don't know anything about Huck. It looks cool though. I like this cover a lot. Makes me interested.
His
Um,
actually name is its full name is Huck Finn. He's been alive since the 1800s. He's not a superhero. I don't know.
it's funny, like Space Bandits came out, and I was like, whatever, that looks dumb. I think I didn't get Space Bandits when it came out because it was the same time Mags Visaggio had her book. Um, she had a similar type of like space bounty hunter. They ended up making a TV show for it that failed. And I just saw this. I don't know why. It's like it's Mark Millar. I shouldn't have lumped the two together, but
What show is this?
I can't
Space
remember what.
Bandits?
No. It was the Mags Visaggio. Um,
Oh, it was on Sci-Fi. It lasted for like a couple episodes.
hey, I think it had like 6 episodes or something. It got canceled right away. Um, I read the first issue of the comic on my old story time stream, and it was a blast to read. Like it was one of those comics that I was like America Chavez, where you're like, oh yeah, this is fun to read. Um,
Recommend
but
Starlight. It's a fun read where we see that happens to the Flash Gordons after his adventures are over. It's a love letter. They're side pulps. That's cool.
I can't remember what the name of that book was. But anyway, but Spaceman has looked like so similar to it, and I was just like, ugh. But come to find out that the artist of it, um, I'm drawing a
Anytime I
blank.
see somebody, a guy wearing a cowboy hat and spades, I'm thinking like, man, just admit that you just wanted to write a cowboy bebop.
Yeah, I mean, I that's probably similar. That's the total genre that this is. But the artist is I'm drawing a blank on his name. It's the guy that I know you like, and I've been trying to get you to read King of Spies because he does the art in it. And I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Jimenez?
No, someone in
Artist?
chat
You
who
know
did
what?
the artist of King of Spies, and he also did the White Knight Harley Quinn book.
Oh,
Vagrant Queen is the name of the show that I was thinking of from Mags. Yes, thank you, Marania. Vagrant Queen. That book is like so bad it's fun to read book. Um, it's just oh man, yeah. Mags could have really had a career uh, if she played into that. If she was just been like, you know what, I'll just be the person who writes just so bad it's fun to read books. Not Sean Gordon Murphy, Dominic. Uh, man, uh, I got like Google right at my fingertips, I suppose.
I know. It's the thing. It's like
I'll just type it in. Uh, Matteo Scalera. That's the name. Matteo Scalera does the art on Space Bandits, and I'm like, he's become one of my favorite artists, which you wouldn't know because I can't remember his name. And I'm like, oh, he did the art on Space Bandits? I wish I would have known. So now I need to go back and get that. All right.
moving right along.
Dominic says main character was homage Flash. Or did you ever read this comment?
But the
Main
Starlight one?
character is a homage to
Oh,
Flash Gordon. Assuming you're talking about Starlight, and
yeah.
MPH is a chronicle before the movie came to be, but involves super speed and time travel. Oh, Chronicle, the movie Chronicle. Gotcha. I've never seen Chronicle. That's on my to watch list one day. That cover does look awesome. That makes me go, oh, I want to read more. All right. And moving right along to our
What?
final.
Oh, do you see his hand? Gets Kick-Ass's hood
Oh, it's
or a mask.
Kick-Ass's. Yeah, you're right.
I just saw that. No, not Kick-Ass.
Well, it's not. It's the girl
Uh,
Kick-Ass that everyone hates.
even the girl Kick-Ass. There's a girl version.
Oh yeah, they'd race or gender and race
I
swapped her.
did not know
Man,
that there was a. Yeah,
yeah. The third,
it was
so the
it.
first two volumes of Kick-Ass are the Dave, what's his name,
Yeah,
Dave, whatever, and then the
Dave
third
Thomas.
volume is the no, that's Wendy's. Uh, the third
That's
volume
why he's no longer around.
is yeah they rebooted it with and made it a girl, black girl.
And then she died instantly.
No, she had an ongoing series for a while and then it failed. But he didn't
I
write
wonder
it.
why.
He like got someone else to write the series. That was another thing too. I was like, I think that was back when like Mark was exploring just sort of like pushing his universe out and hiring writers and artists to just do his stuff. And it's like
And he
we
got
don't
Teen
we don't
Howard to write it.
we don't want legacy Kick-Ass. We want the original. It's like
Exactly. I
um
mean, honestly, I still say that's Aaron Taylor Johnson's best role. It's Kick-Ass.
yeah, yeah.
I I I just whenever I see him in another role outside that, it's like, dude, you're ever gonna be known as the nerdy guy, play kick ass, and then also the guy who has a wife that's like 40 years older than him.
Yeah. Although he's it's tough, it's tough going into for like child actor to adult. There's that weird
Yeah.
transition period. Not everyone can do it. I think he'll do it though. I think he just needs to
With
get
enough
into
drugs,
good
you can transition.
he needs to get in the right movies. He needs to stop making bad movies. Um
Yeah, like Craven.
like Craven. Yeah. That's not going to help his career.
It's so Craven. Ah, ah.
But
All right. Now on to our favorite of the evening,
Junkyard
Junkyard Joe.
Joe.
Yo, Joe.
All right. So I've
By
been saying
Matt
that
Ghost. But
I've been saying this is the best comic on shelves, and I'm gonna stand.
best indie comic, I'd say.
Well, I mean, indies are the best comics on the shelf, so if you're the best
Eh,
of the indies, you're the obviously the best.
eh.
You- now, you mainstream lovers that need your characters, I
It's
understand.
like the Corolla is the best car, but it's not the best looking.
The Corolla is the best. What? No one thinks a
Was
Corolla
it
is the best car.
the best efficient car? That's why I see so many of them. Those are cheap and affordable, and they work. They get you.
So
But
I'm
they're
in an
not.
interesting quandary here. I don't really know what to say about this book.
This book, literally, this issue right here is a scene out of a TV show.
Yeah.
The kid's like, we need to get Joe Pastor. I'll distract him. I got an idea, guys. I'm gonna climb up and I'm gonna turn the lights on and distract you, and you can take Joe past everybody. They won't notice it.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing with the lady, it's like, well, what do you mean your kids are in danger? It's like, I'm gonna take this man where he needs to go because we like this guy. She's like, I just kind of feel like this really feels like a movie, doesn't it?
Yep.
Like a like your kid movie
It
more
feels
than it
it,
feels
it
more like
feels like
adult.
a 90s movie. Like it's hitting all
Yeah,
those beats. And like I was saying before this whole time, like I feel like this is like a Spielberg type. Like I
like
it
8 cents
uh
or cents is eight, whatever it is, or whatever it's
no,
called.
I know what you're thinking of. Eight.
Oh,
What
eight
was
millimeter.
eight?
Not no, it's
No.
not that one. It's the other one.
It
It's
has
the
eight
other
in
one.
it. Super 8,
Super eight. Yeah.
which was a love letter to Spielberg. It was actually a J.J. Abrams movie. But yeah. Um, this just has like I totally when I'm reading this, I just feel like, oh, this is like reading the script of a 90s Spielberg movie. Um, not that that's bad. I've loved this series. This final issue wasn't bad, but I don't know what to say about it. It just
It felt so cliche, didn't it? I'm just waiting for like they have David Banner down there, gets knocked down, it turns into the Incredible Hulk, and it defeats the bad guys.
did feel a little cliche. It felt very tropey.
We get to learn about the at this point. We learn out who the guy is. If we've already suspected, this is the guy who created Joe. Oh, and
I
he
don't even
chorused because
cliche is not the right word. It just felt very expected. Everything fell into place kind of how I thought it. Like it just felt like right. Like oh, okay, yeah, I could see that happening. Okay.
Joe.
Nothing. There was no surprises. There's no big twist. There's no revelation. It just the plane lands. It's like okay,
Yeah.
that
Um. The moment I popped in this issue though, I gotta say is when you see Geiger pop up at the end. Like he's
yeah,
not ready yet.
yes,
I was like, oh, come on, you bastard! Don't tease
yes.
me.
There is sort of like yeah, it's like the equivalent of the MCU after credit scene. So we get the bad guy and Joe. You know,
Art is still good though. I
comes
love the
come.
art.
Yeah, the art. I mean, yeah, Gary Frank is great. Joe coming into action. Um,
Joe running, you seen the reflection of the guy in his mask or his skull by his mouth. The guy's charging
yeah,
it.
yeah. Um, I love like how Joe is like he won't. A a lot of this is just character moment. Like Joe won't
Mm-hmm.
do violence, and we get to learn like that he's been like humanized, and such to the fact like this guy gets shot. You know, where I'm gonna go back here. Where was the?
No, no, it was
The
right when they first walk in. The guy gets shot right there,
yeah, yes,
and
yeah. He gets yeah right there. He gets shot,
Joe's
and
hugging him.
Joe's
You know, holding.
just looking at him, and the villain is like, "Yes, you
Basically,
understand."
that's the
Um,
best way. That's the best way to describe Junkyard Joe because he is a robot. As far as we know, it's still it doesn't reveal. He was created by this guy, but we don't know if there's a brain in there or not. If he's just a soul attached to it, or if he's just an AI program that I'm a real robot. Like Pinocchio. Uh, but you can see obviously he's something clicked in him because even when he saved Marty Davis in back to Vietnam, he just he's learned that violence does not solve anything. Violence just begets more violence.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the
He's
horrific of man himself. Because they're glad he didn't go Skynet.
right,
Solve the
right,
problem by getting rid of man. But
right. So they
like
talk about how Unit Beta was the perfect soldier until something changed it, that
yeah,
shut itself down. And but it's interesting here is we find out like what the guy's all right, and Junkyard Joe he goes into action, um, because he's got to save. It's a very heroic moment. It's like a point like where it's like he's a pacifist character, but
it's
then
like
he
cross with
realizes
ET and like
he has to come
it's
into
a
action because he's the only person that can save him. And so he kind of beats the bad guys. Like I said, it plays out very by the numbers. Um, he falls on the grenade. We get sort of like that Terminator moment where it's like, oh, he's blown up, but nope, now he's just without. You can see his out in his shell, and
he's now Ingleton.
now we got the villain holding one of the kids, and like, oh no, the dad seeing it, and
But
it's
don't worry,
just
we called the FBI. We called your yeah, those are like did they call like the contacted people at and then the one guy he says like don't we contacted the military, they're on their way. So it's just like it just keeps escalating.
yeah, we
And
get
I love
Muddy.
this.
I love when
Yeah.
Muddy just looks at Junkyard Joe doesn't know what to do, and Muddy just like, do what you came to do, Joe. You are not Junkyard Joe. And then
Nine.
you don't own me. I am my own robot. So, um,
Yeah.
Junkyard
Man
Joe
versus creator.
beats the
Yeah.
bad guy, and the mask falls off. It's an old man. Um,
Yes.
which makes sense. He would
And
be
they're like,
old.
"Oh my gosh, he's a weapon!" They all seen Joe, and he's like, "You dumbasses, this is Joe." I've been literally drawing stories about him for all these years. And here comes the agents. Yeah, you're coming with me. It's like, and they're like, do you know he's not? Because obviously they're no different. And this is true what a lot of people do in Hollywood. The FBI, the government,
Yeah.
they're just as corrupt. Secret shadow governments and all that stuff, and like just like the scary part is that we've learned that Hollywood is telling the truth.
Right. I like this. I like this part. It's just kind of tropey, but the family's like, ah, he took out the real bad guys, and we have our orders. Move aside, and then we see the whole town stands together, united against him, and it's a little cheesy, but I give it a pass because that's what this Junkyard Joe comic has been like. It's been this like small town hero type story, and I feel like these moments, even though they feel a little cliche, little
Yeah,
tropey, like they feel
and
fitting for this book.
the bad thing about this is the fact that nobody's like filming anything, so they could just come in and be like, "Yeah, we wiped out a whole small town, got Joe," and they're like, "Oh, what happened? It was a gas leak."
So this is how this is how it ends
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
nice like feel good 90s Hallmark movie style, and then we get 7 months later, and they're at a barbecue, and they're talking. Muddy's finally goes back and does another comic strip,
She, man, does she
and
look way older now? Look what happened. She like aged really well. So I thought she was
um
like, who's wait, that's not their mom, that's her. But
um
go ahead.
well, a lot can happen in 7 months. Growth spurt. Uh,
Yeah.
so they're having a little picnic or whatever, and just a little feel good moment. And we get this little thing in the woods. We cut over. There's the robot, but it's too soon. Oh no,
Now,
they found us. We have to go back and fight. And we see,
so
we
we see a guy
see
holding a musket. Is that the revolutionary?
that's Redcoat.
Redcoat, yeah. And then Geiger.
Yeah,
Okay. I never read Redcoat, so I was assuming that's what it was.
yeah. You need to read the Geiger 80-page special.
I'm trying to catch up on Millerverse, okay?
Oh, you need to catch up on Geigerverse. Um, so yeah, so you see Geiger, he's pulling the thing. It's like, no, it's too soon. They leave, and Junkyard Joe goes over to look, and it's gone. And so it's just like one of those like little after moments of the MCU. But now we're starting to see the connections of how these characters, and apparently they're able to travel through time. So that explains how you get these characters from different time periods. Um,
Dun 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 dun. I think of Terminator.
right, the Terminator. Dun 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 dun.
Joe, the Joe will join Skynet.
So yeah, Redcoat from 1776, and we've got Geiger from 2050. So, and then Junkyard Joe is 1972. So there's a couple other. We got the First Ghost. We got American Widow X, which we know is going to be your favorite. The Monster and the Northerner still to be introduced.
The Northerner. He's from Wisconsin, eh?
um, but yeah, I mean, you read all of Geiger, right?
I read all of Geiger, yeah.
Okay. So I had put off the 80-page special. I bought it and I didn't read it right away, and then I forgot I like had it. And then one day I was like, "Oh, I never read this." So I sat down and read it, and I was really surprised. I normally don't like anthology books. It's got like 6 stories in it.
But it gives you a preview of what's coming up.
But there's a Redcoat story in it written
Mhm.
by Johns and is drawn by Brian Hitch, who's going to do the full series. And I really liked. I was like, "Oh, I can't wait for this to come out." The red coat is not what I was expecting to be. So
His coat was actually red.
yeah, um, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So I hope they still explain how Joe actually his body works later on. If he gets battle damage, or sure it's like, oh, you get to see the interiors. I mean, he must have a run really good battery. solar powered or something like that.
Right?
Does he have to
Seriously.
sit down and charge himself? Kind of like
Um,
RoboCop?
Ronnie says the word you're looking for is formulaic, Ash. It follows the expected formula of storytelling without deviations. Yeah, that's mostly accurate. I normally use the word formulaic for stories that feel like cookie cutter. Like I think like a lot of the MCU movies are very formulaic. I didn't feel the Junkyard Joe was formulaic, but you're not necessarily wrong. I could see how someone would use that word. So I'm not. I don't really want to argue that point, but I don't feel it's. Well, I'll just say it this way: I don't feel it's formulaic in the same sense that I would say like MCU films are formulaic or how a lot of just typical Hollywood. I just felt like it didn't try to reinvent the wheel. Like Jeff Johns wasn't out there to be like, oh, I'm gonna do this left hard turn here and then twist, and you're never gonna expect. The story was like, yeah, it's just gonna play it out like how it you natural. Like it just felt because the point of this story in my mind wasn't about like this super twisted plot, but rather just the feel good moments of the family. And so um it didn't need to have twists and turns, I guess. What about you? Do you have anything to add to that?
What Zach said about the whole thing is about having everything has to have a twist. It becomes redundant after a while. It's like M. Night Shyamalan. Look for the twist at the end. It's like the twist is when you don't do a twist. If you're known for doing twists, that's the best twist.
Right.
Um, or if you're known for never doing a twist and then you suddenly just throw a twist at the end, you're like, what the heck? I wasn't expecting that. Um, honestly, I don't know anything about American Widow X. The Northern. I don't know anything about that at all.
But it's a
Um,
widow. I mean, it's a girl. I mean, as long as she's drawn sexy, you're gonna like
American
her.
Widow. Who knows?
You're gonna like her.
Gotta be more than that, though. I mean, I don't want like a female Nemesis. I don't want that at all.
It's Jeff Johns. He's not gonna. Come on. He doesn't
Maybe
let you down, man.
maybe her friends were shot while they're on a hiking trip, and she develops a phobia, and then she has to like get over that phobia, and then then she goes to the shop and says, "I need guns, lots of guns."
I'm real excited. I love this series. I'm so excited to just collect all of it. I
Like the
love.
Unknown War is like so I see the Unknown War erupt. Is that gonna be like the Avengers where they all get together and fight?
Yeah. So I'll read for those that are listening in here. The blurb at the bottom says, throughout history, unlikely and strange heroes have risen and fallen. These men and women are a mystery. Their identities and lives are a secret. But for a great evil to be stopped, their stories must be told. From a radioactive family man in the near future to a British assassin during the American Revolution to a robotic killing machine seeking its creator and more, they are the unnamed, fighting the unknown war. So
Oh
yeah,
my.
what Johns is doing is sort of his own MCU. You could see like he's doing each of these stories, and then they're gonna eventually connect into where they're all united, fighting this unknown war, whatever that is. So Jeff Johns is a master storyteller in comics. He knows what he's doing. Now, what I want to do, I want to talk about though, is how does this compare to you for with Geiger?
Honestly, Geiger is still the best.
You like Geiger better?
This, yeah, I like Geiger better.
All right. What is there anything
Um,
specific you can point to, or
as far as for Geiger, it's dystopian.
like like why you liked it better?
Geiger, you had the dog. You had this guy, and just people wouldn't leave him alone. He's a loner, a drifter. Eventually, he's forced to help out these kids. You know,
Hmm.
And then he said he runs into, obviously, for those who don't know, we run into, you see Junkyard Joe there. And like, and this whole entire time, he's waiting outside his home because he thinks it's his family are in the vault. Obviously, and I won't say what happens at the end if anybody hasn't read it though. But like I just love like the dystopian kind of future stuff. And here's this guy he has like he's radioactive, so he just anybody that comes after him like they just like die like near him.
Right.
Um, so and like you just kind of feel bad for this guy, he told his family he sacrificed himself so his family could live inside the vault.
Right.
You know, and then he's waiting all these years till they finally come out of the vault.
Right.
You know.
So I love both. I love both of these books.
Joe, I would have loved a little bit more action instead of him just kind of wandering. That's like I just felt like
Sure.
yeah.
There wasn't a ton of action. It was more of a
I'm an action person. I keeps it more. I like a faster pace, but I can appreciate whatever it is. I mean, I just felt like it's just how many issues? 6 issues though. He did it for this.
Yeah, there were
Like
6 issues.
Yeah, like this would be cool for a first movie, but it's like this is like the first of 6 movies then. I mean,
Right. This
like
one definitely did
that's
not have the action. It was much more of like a drama.
yeah. Like this would be like your first season of a TV show, and then the next season would be like the more compelling thing. Now that he's defeated the guy who's hunting him down, where does he go to next? And he becomes David Carradine in Kung Fu, helping out people where he travels, traveling Joe.
So what I noticed interesting, I love both of these books. Geiger, it took a while to build up. I thought Geiger, I don't want to say it started weak, but it started slow. Like the first couple of issues of Geiger,
Sure.
I was like, okay, it's not bad, but like nothing's really happening yet. It's a lot of kind of build up. And man, those final 2 issues of Geiger just finished so
So
strong.
I
Like it
gotta
was
I
just
gotta ask, did you read Geiger each issue as it came out, or did
yes.
you binge read it?
No, I read it as it came out.
Okay, so I read it as a trade, so it worked a little better for me in that sense.
Ah, I
I
mean,
feel like if you read this, like 6:30 come on, you go back and read this 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I think this story will be it would feel like where I am at the point. It's like it's just kind of feels like it's too short.
I don't know. I wouldn't
You
say
know,
that. But what I'm noticing though is like Geiger started off slow for me, which was fine. Like I don't mind a build up. And then it just ended, man, with a crescendo. Just like, oh my goodness, like that final issue of Geiger, it just like was this massive payoff. And
this didn't feel like a build up at all.
this
There
book
was no build.
started amazing. Like the first issue of Junkyard Joe, I gave 5 stars. I was like, this is the best comic I've read all year. Like I was just like, this is so good. And then the next couple
It just went
issues where
on.
it
Yeah.
went to the town, I was like, oh, okay, it's out of Nom now. It's a different, but like it still felt really good. It had a lot of heart right from the get go. I was like, oh, I'm into this. Um, and it just sort of like kind of cruised to a nice safe landing. Like it didn't. I'm really,
Copy it. Another Disney film.
yeah, I'm kind of struggling because I don't want to make it sound like anything bad, but
Oh,
it didn't, it, it's hard to say this, like, because I don't
a
want to say like
family moves to a small town, meets a
it,
mysterious stranger.
it didn't peter
Comforter.
out,
Yeah.
it didn't fail, but like it just started,
Yeah.
like all the intense part is the beginning, and it's like, oh, and it's like, okay, cool, and then land, and it's like, so it was different. It started stronger than Geiger, but finished I guess weaker.
It's like
And Geiger started
it's like a
weaker
hit.
and finished stronger.
Yeah. It's like a history of violence, but instead of like the movie that starts off history of violence, that movie starts off, but you get a flashback in the very beginning of him like doing stuff, and then it's like, all right, civilian life, and now my power ups are coming back. Now they're in town again,
Yeah.
like.
So
But
um
I guess this literally felt like a Disney movie.
it did feel a
Serious.
bit, it felt a little Disney.
You can't have Stitch. Stitch is ours. Lilo and Stitch. The
That's a,
FBI come in to get the alien.
I like I do like that they're different though. Um, that was a cool thing about it. Like I liked that each book feels unique. You know, that it wasn't just like trying to recapture the same exact tone of Geiger with a robot now, which I was a little worried because for those of you who have read Geiger, you know that Junkyard Joe is in the Geiger series. Um,
He's
in fact,
immortal.
Geiger fights him in
Yeah.
in the series. Now we don't know who that character is at the time, but he's there, and so that character, I was like, oh, it's just gonna be like a dark, like Terminator kind of robot guy, because he's different in that book than he is portrayed here, and so I'm actually very curious to know how does the Junkyard Joe we know now become the Junkyard Joe that's in the future of the Geiger book. But that's
What?
another discussion.
So what if the Northerner and the monster are connected to Redcoat? Redcoat becomes immortal. It's 1776. It's been almost oh wow since it's since Redcoat became immortal. He moves up north, becomes Northerner. And then another more years go by. 1944, and then he goes against like some. He's fighting in World War II. And it's still Redcoat, the British. He's fighting World War II now. And he has to go against the evil, like a Nazi Hulk.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you think these characters are going to be kind of an analogous to like Avengers? Because I'm seeing
yeah,
the Northerner. I'm like, oh, is it
Vision
going to
is
be
Joe, Junkyard Joe, Black Widow.
the Junkyard Joe is
You
like
know,
Iron Man? You got Black
yeah.
American Widow X Black Widow, Monsters Hulk, Northerner's Thor, Redcoat is Captain America. I don't know what Geiger would be,
Geiger is kind of like a Green Lantern character. I don't know, but I'll be for Marvel.
or First Ghost. I don't know what First Ghost would be. Anyways, I have no idea what these characters are going to be. Redcoat's really not like Captain America, other than the fact that he's a military guy, but he's British. He's
So
not even
I
American.
so do we have to wait 2 more years until we get that the first Ghost comic book? I've been wondering this. It's like because they keep advertising the first Ghost capture the film
He is
2020.
behind because Redcoat was advertised to come out in was it 2022? I
I
think it was
just laugh if it
2022.
actually comes out. If it comes out like in 2025. Oh,
So
because yeah.
so hopefully we'll get Redcoat soon. Um, it's definitely behind. We're getting the next book is another Geiger book. It's a 2-issue miniseries of Geiger coming out next. And then we're getting I'm glad they're doing this. They're collecting there's an unnamed story that was in that Image 30th
Yeah.
anniversary anthology,
Hmm.
and they're collecting that book. This one, as a matter of fact, in October. So it's like I don't have to pay. Was it 8 issues, $5.99 an issue, just to get this story? I can get it all
Oh
collected.
wait. Geiger's Jack of Hearts. Didn't think about that. Geiger had if
Oh,
Geiger had a radioactive suit, that constantly contain it, much like a jacket wears his suit contain his powers.
good call, Rania.
Yeah.
I'm not well versed on Jack of Hearts, so yeah, I
And then the
wouldn't have.
monster will be She-Hulk that he falls in love with.
Could be. We don't know if it's a male or female.
Well,
And
he could, wow.
but you made a good call. It could be likely a Nazi creation,
Yeah.
um, which I would be cool with actually. Like that would be an interesting twist. Like the Nazis invented, you know, uh, did
The
some sort of
Nazis find rune
secret
stones.
science
Yeah.
on someone. So the monster himself is not a Nazi. It was just a victim of the So we as the audience
Or
can
or the monster is the doctor.
no
And
no, that guy's a villain.
his name's Himmler. No. No. Uh so I gotta say, you have up on the screen in there, you have that thing Blizzard.
This might be the
That originally was, yeah,
monster.
it was that was originally in all the images. They said you said it was, and then they collected this. My
Hmm.
hope is for some of the other stories they want them to do this. Like, I wish other publishers would, or like Jeff Johns is right. We're gonna collect all his stories. The other ones are kind of going to leave him alone. I wish DC takes examples like, you know what, we're gonna collect the Lois and Clark #2 books, from Dan Jurgens in the Action Comics, and sell that as a trade, because I think that will sell hotcakes.
Possibly.
Just that story alone.
Yeah.
But because I hate having to buy anthology books just to get one story. I only care about one story in there. It's like, okay, I'm paying how much for like one story?
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't
so I
I,
didn't
I
know.
don't
I
like
didn't.
anthology books either for that reason.
So I didn't know this is part of the Tales Untamed, the Blizzard.
Yeah, this is the ongoing series. Remember how Skybound
So
X had
so
the
is he the monster then?
I think this might be the monster. It's possible. I mean, it looks like a monster.
Well, I mean I read the ending of it. I know how it ends, but I mean I'm not really sure what how it really relates in the Geiger universe. But
All I know is this Tales of Unnamed. I haven't read it because I'm not paying for those books. There were some interesting things in the anthology that I was like, oh, I'm curious about that, but I was like, I'm not paying $5.99 to get an 8-page story that I'm. Um, these books were expensive. Although, if this Jeff Johns thing turns out to be an eventual hit, the first issue of this might be worth, his first appearance of one of the characters. Um, but here's the Geiger trade. For those of you that haven't been reading these, I recommend them, man. Uh, I collect these in floppy, but this would be probably a fun thing to collect in trades too. Get each of the characters. Jeff Johns just doesn't fail, man. He just knows what he's doing, and you get great art. Gary Frank in both these books, and Brian Hitch is doing the Red Coat book, and it looks good from what the stuff I've seen. So, um,
yeah, they could be doing that. Browning says, yeah, the whole experiment, like they're trying to recreate the super soldier serum when they created the Hulk in the MCU.
yeah, I mean, I don't
Yeah,
I
they're
don't expect Johns is gonna rip off the MCU.
if imagine if he did, but he made it better. Like literally, I'm okay for people taking stuff and making it better than the original source material.
I am too. He's friends with Kevin Feige though, so that would be kind of a dick move. I don't see that. I do see a possibility where there's loose similarities. Like for example, Marvel doesn't have the copyright on doing monstrous characters. Like so,
No,
the Hulk is like, oh, no one can ever do that again. Like the Hulk itself's not even original. It's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde ripoff.
we don't need the Hulk. We have Bane in DC.
So Bane's totally different. But uh so
He grows his ties.
you could yeah, whatever. That's not real Bane. That's dumb
The
Bane.
Hulk. I love Venom Bane. The South American one. Yeah.
Dumb. So yeah, anyways,
But actually, no.
I
I gotta say though, that is real Bane from the Chuck Dixon Bane. That is real Bane, where he takes the venom and it gives him strength. Vengeance of Bane. Read those the little 2-issue miniseries.
yeah. Anyways, um
Anyways, yes. I love the art. Who did the cover? Is this a Gary Frank cover?
yeah.
I love how the metal's peeling away and like it just shows the rust or the dirt and stuff, and just it looks awesome. Uh, and very cartoonish because like Joe's just like peek his head through there. Hi.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny cuz he's in the book. So it's like it's not even
What if in the future, like a future issue or story, like along the line, Joe actually speaks. So every time, like you'd think you'd assume because we never heard him speak, we assume he doesn't talk. But what if he actually does talk
well,
later
he
on?
does have those holes in his mouth area. Like he doesn't need to breathe. So presumably the only reason they would exist is to like allow sound out, right?
Or he shoots flames through his.
It's like why are they there? Um, and why would you build a robot so advanced like this that it can act, with like human intelligence, but you
Ah,
couldn't
ah.
make it speak?
So maybe I don't know. My interpretation when I saw Joe was like, oh, this is basically like short circuit. Something
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
He got it. Yeah.
it is very similar to that. I'm really very curious about where he comes from because as much as this was an origin story, there was so much unanswered of
Like,
Joe. Like how did the U.S. government invent this super high tech robot in 1972, and it's so advanced that today they're seeking it out and they haven't been able to recreate a new one that's
what
better.
what was the timelines before? You had the page before this. You showed the Northerner begins. Junkyard Joe comes online. The monster. So only I could think of is something happens between when the monsters made in World War II in 1972. Like like sometimes the simplest explanation is that Area 51 UFOs are real. They
Right, that's what I
crash. We
was
use the
thinking.
technology. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, that
Yeah.
he's not actually a real creation, like they found him, but someone's taking credit. Like, it's like, "Oh, I made
Yeah.
this." You know?
Like
Um,
yeah, yeah.
that would be
And
pretty cool.
like
Um,
they use alien technology to like make him. You know,
right.
like Joe was a ooh. So Joe was came online. Joe was actually a soldier that volunteered. You know, to test out the machine. So I'd be awesome if he was like a RoboCop thing. If he actually was, and they like in order to save his life.
Yeah,
We
but they already did RoboCop. Like I wouldn't no, that wouldn't be awesome.
I love
It
RoboCop.
would also, well, I love RoboCop too, but it also would serve to it
That
would
being
create
said,
it would create no, it would create that question of, okay, so in 1972 you made this. It's now 2023. Why have you not made another? Why are you looking for Junkyard Joe?
because he was a prototype, and they haven't
Okay,
been able to recreate it.
why can't you? If you made him the first time, you should be able to make him again.
Maybe a limited quality of the materials. So they didn't have any more. Something happened. You know,
Well, if it's the alien thing, then that makes sense. But if it's like, oh, he's just like a RoboCop analog.
but
Well, I
Mike
mean,
was combining it. Like he's an alien technology, and the soldier accidentally was guarding it, end up getting his conscious transferred or something like that, or something. I don't know, merged.
because the villain in the book is the guy who made him. It's not like a Captain America's situation where it's like, oh, the
Yeah,
scientist who
yeah.
made the super soldier serum is dead. Now he can't recreate it. They don't have that
If we don't,
problem. The
if they
guy's
don't,
right
if they,
there.
yeah, if they don't have the technology, don't have Joe is one of a kind. Nothing else. Everything else, is pretty much didn't exist because they only had a limited quantity of this
Sure,
material.
I guess that's like, but that seems a little implausible. I'm gonna assume Jeff Johns has a good answer because the book doesn't paint itself into a corner. It doesn't say anything that it doesn't tell you anything. We could be an alien. I kind of hope that's actually the case. I kind of hope that Junkyard Joe is actually kind of like a sentient, like
I heard.
mechanical race.
I
You
heard that
know?
Joe's non-binary.
Oh my goodness. If he's a robot, he's absolutely binary.
He identifies as non-binary. Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
all right. Well, I think
yeah.
that's it with the comics.
You don't want to talk about your favorite one?
My favorite one. What?
Yeah. He is a samurai,
Oh, well,
and unless you want to end it now, I don't care.
I don't want to like end. Like, yeah, we wrap it up. We got next
So,
week to cover because Next week's a real slim pickings week.
Next week isn't that bad for me though.
Maybe for you.
Next week I have well, looking at the Vigil. We have that. There's always Superman, Rogue Finest, Flash. There's a Dawn DC primer. Yay!
So here's my pull list for this week.
You gotta add the Vigil.
I'm not pulling it. It's a DC. I'm gonna borrow your copy.
Alright.
I might
Yeah,
pull it. I might pull it. It's a number 1. I might pull it, but I haven't decided yet.
This week's Flash has Granny Goodness, voiced by Ed Asner. So when you read it, it's Ed Asner talking in your head.
If you say so.
You ever watch the cartoons? It's Ed Asner voiced Granny Goodness in the Justice League. So
Nope,
Superman.
never watched them. That's funny that Ed Asner did Granny Good. He's got to be canceled now.
He can't anymore.
So we'll just take a look at some of the comics coming out this week. You're getting Flash, obviously, and World's Finest.
World's Finest Flash.
I hear good things about both those books.
There's a Hulk annual number 1 coming out for the new creative team.
So stupid.
So they're starting with the annual.
Canceling the Hulk, and then they have an annual for
the new team. It's basically a preview.
How do you have an annual for a book that doesn't exist? Screw you, Marvel. You don't even deserve me to look at that.
Hulk versus Giganto. Documentary crew is on the hunt for the monster at the heart of the Gamma Radiation League.
I don't want to hear about it. Let's talk about Superman.
Yeah. Superman.
Are you still liking this book? Are you still hot on it?
I don't care for the villains, but I like the fact that Lex Luthor is finally revealed. It's like, it's like, yeah, these are my simpleton enemies. While I'm in prison, they figured like they can, capitalize it. So I'm as an honest token of faith, token of honesty. He was telling him, hey, these people are here, and more likely, in order to defeat your villains, you're gonna need my help, Superman. So basically, it's like a quid pro quo. As I read this, Clancy Brown voice, man, Lex Luthor, it's like that's helping a lot. I've been liking this more than I do than the actual comic stuff. I'm seeing classic characters come back in there. The fact I got Banshee showing up in a comic book. We had Livewire and Parasite. Did go, and then we also been teased Bizarro as well.
Yep. Well, you have the special Bizarro foil variant here.
Yeah,
looks pretty cool.
So if you've been collecting covers of variants, they just had the Green Lantern had all the different lanterns foil covers. Now you can get the foil cover for Superman Bizarro.
Oh, look at this. Soyan Bizarro. Yeah. I like this artist.
Oh, you want to do pick the books game? I don't mind. I have time. We can do real quick. Go down the line. There's only 2 of us on the panel, so we can go real quick to this.
Well, we got the audience too.
There's not many people in the audience.
Wow.
So
then what are we doing? We're just extending time.
Yeah, we can do real quick. We'll do the whole thing. Just go down the line. And nothing else.
Wow.
It'll be a quick game.
I do got to get going, but.
Oh, really? Oh.
Well, I still have work I got to do.
Your kid's there. He just wants to be a sport. Oh. All right.
Rania doesn't even like this game. She's the one.
She's the one that brought it up.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So for me, top line, easy. World's Finest.
Sure, World's Finest, because it's.
As much as I love Jeremy Adams, like here's how I look at this. Cool story, but it's not going to mean anything. By 800, it's all done anyway. It's kind of pointless. they get excited, go, "Oh, I love it so much," and and he's just gone. It's like,
Well,
so I'm not
hopefully
into
he's
it.
getting to finish his story.
Hopefully too. World's Finest Cell. The guy who built Amazo built a new Amazo robot with using the powers of basically like element man. He created his own element Amazo. So he's got a kryptonite arm and all the different things, you know. But okay. So next line, real quickly. I'm choosing Superman.
So we've got Superman, X Force, Fantastic Four, number 7, She Hulk, Titans, and Miles Morales Spider Man.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. I mean, it's Superman or one of 5 stupid books that I can't believe are in the top. Was it the top 12?
Yeah.
Who's doing this Titans book?
Tom Taylor.
Jeez.
I'm gonna check it out tomorrow. I'm gonna borrow one of DC's copies. See
Just
what it's
look at
like.
that cover. That cover looks gay.
The problem is that this is after Dark Crisis, where we learned that revealed that Dick Grayson is Jesus. In Dark Crisis, I don't remember.
Jim Lee has a variant.
Yeah.
Why would this just not be the A cover? Jim Lee's doing what? Why would this not be the
Well,
A cover?
because Nicola Scott does the main cover. She's the interior artist.
Got Jim Lee doing a cover and it's not even your main cover. DC,
Well,
you're retarded.
I give them credits. They're giving the Nicola Scott, who is the interior artist, is doing the cover, the main cover. So it shows you what you're getting.
Huh?
That's the main. That's
This
that's the
cover
interior
makes me
artist.
not want to touch this book.
I understand that. And that's why it gives me a hope. It basically DC showing you this is what the interior is going to look like. Okay, well, I'm not picking it up. They're being honest about it, not giving you a Jim Lee and you go inside, it's like Riley Rossmo.
Yeah, but this is how you sell books.
Well, yeah, having Jim Lee do the interior as well.
Oh, you're right. He's not going to do interiors, but if you're having him do
Because
the covers, just have him do the damn cover. I'm with
honestly,
you. I'm with you
yeah,
on the whole
yeah,
let the artist do the exterior. If you're not good enough to do the cover, you're not good enough to do the interior. But if you're doing variants anyway, the variants exist, then might as well put the best cover as your A cover.
well, people are going to buy regardless. The whole point of variants. They're going to buy the variant cover. They don't care about the book. They're just buying it for the cover. And they get $1 more on a variant.
Right, but the A cover is typically what the shops order by default, and that's what sits on the
Sure,
shelf, and that's what gets
but they
people
get
who go in the store and browse, and they go, "Oh, the cover is supposed to sell the book."
yeah, but like I said, most people would not come back and buy the second issue. If they're like, what? Especially when they buy it, and like open up at home, and it's like, this isn't Jim Lee in the inside. This is someone else. And it's horrible art.
Uh, people are
So,
gonna people are gonna know that. Just, I mean, if you think what you're getting on the outside is what you're getting on the inside.
like, well, and the main cover is what you're getting in the inside. Like I said, I give them props for that. They're sticking to the guns. They're
Yes,
supporting the
if
artist.
they only did an A cover only and that's it, like the old days of comics, there was no
Yeah,
variants, then absolutely. But you're doing what, dozen covers here, and one of them's Jim Lee, then Jim Lee should be the A cover. That's all I'm saying. But
all
whatever.
right. So let's go. Let's continue the game
Sorry. See, this is
instead of
what
getting
happens.
crazy.
I'll get in a rant. Um,
That's just you.
yeah. I mean, X Force sucks. Fantastic Four, only Zach likes it.
Marnia chose
She
Superman,
Hulk, Titans. Yeah, Superman is the obvious choice.
and she also
Um,
chose Avengers, which I gotta say I'm going with Guardians of the Galaxy.
hold on here. We got to read it off here. So the next row we have Catwoman, 55, Avengers number 1, Batgirls 18, House of Slaughter, Gunslinger Spawn, and Guardians of the Galaxy number 2. Hmm. Which one were you recommending?
I'm taking Guardians. I like the first issue was like a was interesting. It wasn't normal the happy go lucky Guardians, more like Guardians are pretty much Groot is the villain. Somehow Groot became a monster, or now he's uncontrollable, and they're trying to stop him by saving people too as well as they can. It's kind of like wow, it's kind of like alternating, like a serious, depressing kind of issue, you know, storyline.
I'm gonna recommend Gunslinger Spawn because Brett Booth's doing the art. This book has been consistent. I mean, he's been doing the art since the beginning. Um, you're getting
This only had one
you're
cover.
getting a cool Western comic, which is different than anything else on the shelf.
Is there only one
And
cover though?
no, there's two covers.
All right, so
Here's the other cover.
neither one of them are Brett Booth on the cover.
Correct. Kind of weird, but
Yeah,
um, I do like, and I'm not even a big Bogdanovich fan, but that's a cool cover. Um,
it's a
and
western. Nobody likes
Todd
westerns.
McFarlane sells his books for $2.99. So the rest of the books on the shelf can suck it. So not going to promote Marvel or DC over that. That's what I would pick.
I thought you would have went for House of Slaughter.
House of Slaughter. um, House of Slaughter is not a bad choice, but it's a niche book. I think you either are into the Tynan horror verse of that he does, or you're not. So I think people that are into this are already getting it, but it's not something I would just be like, here, like it's for everybody. So as a universal recommendation, I think Gunslinger Spawn seems to would be my pick. Um, and what Ronnie picked Avengers. Okay. And Tehillim picked nothing.
That's okay. He doesn't have to play.
Next row, Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, aka Real Cap. Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow, aka Not Superman. Batman, the Brave and the Bold, #1. Star Wars Bounty Hunters 34, Little Monsters 13, and Ice Cream Man 35.
I know Skip would go. Skip would say, "That's Ice Cream Man."
Yeah,
Something else.
it's like one of
Batman Brave and
Skip's.
Bold is a list of a bunch of writers I would never want to read. I think by them. Yeah, Tom King, Christopher Cantwell, and then the only thing that sucks about this is that Dan Moore is doing his first writing it all. He's doing a story that he's
Tom
drawing and writing.
King and Christopher Cantwell on the same book?
Yeah,
Are
it's
you kidding me?
anthology, but this is basically the new Urban Legends. It's the Batman Brave and the Bold. They canceled Urban Legends, and now they're calling it Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Are you kidding me? Tom King and Cantwell is just wannabe Tom King. Oh my gosh.
And Mitch Gerard's. Yay. Yeah.
And of course, like you'd expect, DC is giving them badass covers to sell these shitty writers that no one wants.
Frank Cho's doing a variant cover. Is it the Superman one? Yeah.
Yep. It's all right.
Eh,
Little plain,
it's
but it's all right.
it's plain cheese. It's not even cheesecake. It's not a show cover. That's lying to me.
Joe's only allowed to draw women.
Well, that's what he's known for.
Here's not
Is this
no
Zerdy? Like
Deathstroke.
Zerdy or it's his daughter,
That's stupid.
Avenger. Brian Hitch cover. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So
I
yeah,
honestly I want to read the Dan Mora story. It's his first time writing. You know how good he is at art. If he's just as good as a writer as he is an artist, man, imagine what he could do outside of DC, writing his own stories. And
ay, ay, ay.
have spokes.
You
Done.
too can buy Tom King and Christopher Cantwell in the same book for the low price of $7.99.
Greg Bremer, yeah. Tom King, Christopher Cantwell, Mitch Gerard, three no talent hacks on the same book.
I don't know if I would call Mitch Gerard's no talent hack, but
For me, the safest bet for me is Captain America: Son of Liberty number 12.
Batman is the sucker bet of the month here. Like,
Dude, when I saw that, I was like, Batman the Brave, and I'm like, oh, why am I getting this? And then I clicked on it, and I was like, oh, that's right, I forgot why I didn't pull this.
this is the sucker book. You buy this book,
It,
you are a sucker.
well, doesn't it look like Future State?
Yeah, it's the
Same
it's
kind of style.
this artist is it's the guy who did the Red Hood, White Knight Red Hood, but also did the We Only Find Them When They're Dead. I forget his name. Um, Simone DeMeo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this artist. Especially when he colors his own work. When someone else colors his work, it looks like trash. There's a couple good books here. Little Monsters is actually good. I don't know if I would recommend it though, like to jump on 13. This is definitely a book you want to read from the beginning.
Superman or William Manus Tomorrow would be a jumping on point, but the fact that the first issue wasn't that great. It's not even, it's a shell of what the Superboy of the 90s used to be. It's Connor, but Connor on an alternate world because he ran into the same problem that you've been saying forever. When you have too many freaking legacy characters, what does he do? He can't be a hero because everyone else is already beating him to the point. So he's not needed. So he just goes to an alternate universe. He basically traveled the multiverse. In order to make in order to make Connor relevant, they had to put him into a different universe.
Stupid. What I love is that Connor is older than John, but Connor is Superboy and John is Superman.
If you want to make Superboy relevant, Connor, just write him so that there's only Kara and Superman. There is no John. There is no twins. That's all there is. And it takes place during the 90s.
Or you have John be 10 years old again, so that he's too young to be Superboy. And then then Connor's relevant because he's old enough to actually be running around as
it was
hero.
Better though. Yeah. So as TMC, I agree with him. Issue 1 was better than any of the Kal-El crap. Son of Kal-El.
That's not hard to do. It's got a low bar there. So yeah, Little Monsters is good. Not a. You're gonna want to read the whole thing, not just jumping on here. So I'm gonna pick Ice Cream Man. Because Ice Cream Man, W. Maxwell Prince is a really talented writer, and you can pick up any of the books. Like it's not like a long saga.
Like I said, the whole Black Widow being on Captain America is kind of like the cheese cake bait for me. On a book I kind of like dropped.
He's getting suckered in because the Black Widow's on the cover.
What? How could I not?
Black Widow strikes. It's not a very good cover though.
No, it could be better.
That's how you could not. And then what the hell's this?
I don't know.
Is that supposed to be Black Widow?
Scroll up. Does it say
Gomez Spider-Verse variant? Like,
so maybe that's Yelena?
I have no idea.
Because it lists Yelena as being in.
I think that's a Spider character.
Yeah, it's supposed to be part of the Spider-Verse. But I mean, like, obviously they show Black Widow on the cover. I don't think blonde is Yelena.
Right. I don't think it's Yelena. I don't think it's a Black Widow. At first I was like, well, it's Black Widow because she's, Spider, Black Widow. I was like, oh, but it's actual.
He didn't go to another multiverse. He tried to travel to another planet. Well, he would have better off going to the multiverse, going to a different planet. Yeah.
Well, Connor came back into the rebirth through Bendis's stupid, like, he was living on Gem World all along.
This is what I mean. Like, this is. I better people just ignore continuity and write their own standalone stories.
No, continuity.
Self-contained standalones. We don't.
Continuity is why we read mainstream comics. Like, if there's no continuity, what's the point?
No, there is no continuity really. I'd rather have no continuity actually than having bad continuity.
Then read
Wouldn't you?
Independence. That
I will. If they break away from the continuity, they can write their own books.
that's why I read the Geigerverse and the Mark Miller books because I don't have to worry. Like, and they're
They're all in
better.
continuity.
But yeah, if you're writing in the DC universe, then continuity.
Nah,
So what was your
sorry.
pick?
I told you, Black Widow, Captain America.
Oh, that's right, you sucker. And row 4 says if that's Steve Rogers Captain America, she picks that one.
Well, Ice Cream Man is a false advertising. There's no ice cream in that book.
No, there's Ice Cream Man.
Yeah.
It didn't say ice cream. It's not the name of the book. It's called Ice Cream Man. So
So
it's
he's made of
just as
ice cream.
Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly doing Captain America.
It's made America.
Mid America. All right, we'll do another one. We got Walking Dead Deluxe 63, Red Goblin number 4. I can't believe there's a Red Goblin series. Black Adam number 11, Cyborg number 1, Dawn of DC Primer number 1, and The Vigil number 1. So, why are we getting a primer for something that's been going on since February?
It should have been released on Free Comic Book Day. I don't know why it was released so late.
No, it should have been released in January.
Yeah.
We're 5 months in
Yeah.
practically of Dawn of DC, and now you're giving us the primer. Why does anyone have jobs at DC? Are you
No,
are you guys that hard on like finding people? Like what the?
no. The reason I say the reason I say Taylor, the reason I was saying I would rather have there be no continuity than versus bad continuity is that, like I said, I don't want to, because that way we could have Jonathan as Kent as a 10-year-old kid. You know, they could ignore the fact he was aged up. We could still have straight Tim Drake. You could, if someone wants to write it that way, they can write it that way instead of having to, oh, because this is the continuity, we got to do this. No, I'd rather have more Elseworlds where everything was still the same before it was fucked up. You know. That's my reasoning, because at this point they're just making it worse and worse and worse. Where some people are trying to fix it, but they can't because they have to retcon this. But then there are retcons like Jeremy Adams he did the whole retcon of Tom King shit. I guarantee someone else is going to come in and fuck up everything that he worked so hard to fix on the Flash.
Yeah, but the solution to bad continuity isn't to make it worse with no continuity. Like that just all that does is just
Well,
take
if you
what
want,
we already don't have and make it even
I'm saying,
worse.
I'm saying, do what Murphyverse is doing: is build your own continuity
Right,
outside of
that's why
this.
Murphyverse is good because it has continuity.
Because it's not part of the main continuity. I'm saying I don't want everything to be attached to the main continuity. That's why I'm fine with standalone movies.
But Murphyverse is working because it has continuity. If Murphyverse didn't have continuity, I wouldn't be
But it's
buying.
not attached to the main continuity. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's
Batman
attached to
went
its
in is
own. So I
yeah.
wouldn't be buying this stupid. What's this new Harley Quinn book, or whatever, the Joker book? I wouldn't be
Yeah.
buying it if it was not part of the
And
continuity.
on it, and that's why I would prefer what's going on with the Green Arrow, this book here, you know, or Green Lantern. It has nothing to do with what's going on with the Night Terror stuff. They could be separated from all that crap, you know, and just tell a story. But instead, everybody has to force, you know, like Jen McKay, or was it Jen McKay or was it Donny Cates? Donny Cates' run on suffered a little bit. Actually, no, was it Cates? When the whole No story, that was Cates' thing, right? So Jed McKay had to adapt. Or no, sorry, not Jed McKay. Chip Zdarsky, his Daredevil run was affected by the whole Null thing.
Yeah, so what? That's what's
So
great about
he had to
comics.
try, but not everybody's able to do that though and make it work. You know. So like I said, I don't want to have like Dark Crisis. Dark Crisis was dumb. You know, I don't care for either one of them. I just want to have a story like it used to be back in the day.
Yeah, but
Um,
would removing continuity have made Dark Crisis not dumb?
removing books from being part of it. Sure. You can have your own shit. If you want to have somebody write their own Superman tie-in, sure. But it has nothing to do with what's going on in say someone else's Superman's ongoing story. I'm tired of the crisis. I'm tired of all the events that basically you have to shake up somebody else's like, vision and just basically like people constantly interfering. Like the perfect example is Peter David on the Hulk, is Breen brought up the other night. Is the fact that he had so much interference in that book because they want to do this or this. So basically he had to keep fighting with them. So
I get
sometimes
it. I
continuity can be
get
bad.
it that bad continuity is bad. I'm not defending it.
Yeah.
But with no continuity, then what's the point of having an open shared universe with these characters cohabitate together and you can
Right
like
now, there kind of there really isn't that much continuity.
right. That,
What
that
there
that's
is, it's all bad.
that's
If but I'm saying, right now I could care less because there's hardly isn't continuity right now. I was saying the more interference from other people's freaking stupid decisions on their other books, it affects your book, would just piss me off. Yeah,
so
yeah,
so finally the final book in this row is The Vigil #1. So we can't really count DC Primer because it's a freebie. I had to pause on that though because it just threw me for a loop. I was
yeah.
like,
That's freebie. I know. So I'm
why would
going with Walking Dead Deluxe.
that's the safe bet for you? Um, Rania's
uh,
jumping ahead. You can't jump ahead, Marania. Play the game
she
right.
went to Ghost Rider. Yeah, #6 for me.
Yeah, we're not okay. So you and she picked Donna DC Primer for row 5. You can't do that. It doesn't count. Um, everyone knows that Cyborg #1 is going to be the bestest, and that everyone should be buying it. If you don't buy it, you're a bigot. Um, it's written by Morgan Hampton. Clearly, this woman was not hired for any other reason but her well-established merit in the world of comics, where she's written tons and tons of books, clearly has a love for the lore, the history, and the medium. Oh, she's only written one story in DC Power Celebration. Oh, okay, never mind. She's a total diversity hire. Um, and this book's gonna suck balls. Never mind. Don't buy this book. Still, at least it doesn't have Tom King and Christopher Cantwell in the same book for $8. At least there's that. You picked Black Adam, Rania. Jeez. So Rania wants Christopher Priest, Black Adam. All right.
Rania, I would just go with my The Walking Dead. I wouldn't lie to you.
I'm going with surprise, surprise, The Vigil.
Spider-Man. Oh.
How anyone can bet against Rom V is beyond me. But Rom V, I trust. And I love the look of this book. I love that it has this sort of retro styling. These characters look like they could be ripped right out of the Incredibles universe. Um, there's just something about the aesthetic.
I always see his V for Vendetta with Deadpool.
What?
The girl looks like a V for Vendetta mask up in the upper right corner, and then you see a guy with two swords. I'm just thinking, oh, it's dead.
What, like a V for Vendetta?
Look at the mask. All it's missing is it's a similar type. It's kind of like okay. I would say more. It's kind of not V for Vendetta. It's more like Star Wars battle droids. You know,
Elam says, I think you could be disappointed in this. If you're talking about this book, Tehillim, you're of course
yeah.
right.
It does.
I could be
Honestly,
disappointed by anything.
I hated their introduction into the Batman comic books, so I already got a sour taste. But
So,
who knows? Maybe Ram V will pull it off and make them interesting.
I have not read anything by Rom V yet that I have been disappointed in. Let's see. He's
Did you read the
seriously.
tie-in?
I
Like
have
you
not read
missed
the.
them?
No, I haven't read the tie-in.
Uh,
But this Rom V is operating on a level so high. Um, like I said, I'm willing to give it a chance. It's his. I believe it's his creation. Yeah, they didn't make it for him. So he's writing his own creation. Like, let me see what you're gonna do. I might actually even like pick up the book. This racist version. Definitely not gonna get this stupid AAPI Heritage Month nonsense. Gee, DC. Just when you think you're gonna get some money from me, then you show me stuff that makes me just want to like say no, suck my balls. Um,
the Vigil?
just yeah. Uh, uh, and it's only $3.99 for 32 pages. Anyways, yeah, that's
Yay.
my pick. Vigil, Rom V, best writer in mainstream comics, bar none. So we're all split on that. No, same picks. We're gonna go to the next row. We got Predator. Wait, did I jump? Yeah. Predator number 3, Spider-Man 2099, Dark Genesis number 3, Bloodline, Daughter of Blade, No One number 3, Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider number 1, and Sonic the Hedgehog number 60. Oh. Oh my goodness. Well, Ronnie says the Vigil's concept is intriguing, and the concept sold her.
Oh, she already picked Sonic back.
No, that's for this row 6.
Yeah.
So she picked Sonic. I think I'm gonna pick surprisingly Ghost Rider.
What? That's what I'm picking.
I'm not really a Ghost Rider fan, but it's Howard Mackie.
It's a
Um,
throwback.
it's
Yeah.
going back to the '90s Ghost Rider, early '90s Ghost Rider, late '80s. Like um, yeah. I think this is the Ghost Rider. This is the most popular Ghost Rider there ever was. This
Danny
was the
Ketch.
go. This was the Ghost Rider that actually started like rivaling like Wolverine in terms of like popular. I mean, I remember when they launched that series. I want to say it was in the early '90s, maybe it was late '80s, right around that time. Um, and this book was just hot, man. People could not get it. They were just loving it. Um, yeah, Mark Texiera was the artist. Looks like he's doing a variant cover.
Right there.
Wow, his art's really changed over the years. Interesting. Yeah, man. Tessier was the artist on that book, and I did like his art. He never did the books that I wanted to read, but I did like his art. Um, yeah, this seems like a no pick. I read No One number 1. It was kind of not bad, but kind of boring. Bloodline, Daughter of Blade. I'd just flushed that whole concept down the toilet. And I don't trust Marvel to do a Predator book as far as I can throw them. Who's even writing it? Ed
Ed
Brisson.
Brisson. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Nope. 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 Sonic. I've always heard good things about Sonic. People that buy Sonic comics love it.
Except for that one writer that was like trying to like mess up the. I guess he was trying to mess up the lore.
Oh, of
But
that I don't
I
know.
think he got canceled though. Whatever his name was. But
All right.
all right.
I think it's enough.
I know. We're just getting started.
That's midnight. I haven't even started my work.
All right, kids. We gotta end this. But Check me out over on the Geeky Puppet Show tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central, where Zach and I will be going over these books a little in depth and then talking about the trades coming out this week as well. If you like this channel, please leave a like. Subscribe if you've already done so. Also, if you're listening to this on the repeat, or
If you're listening on the
leave a
repeat and
comment
you
down
made it
below.
this far, please leave a comment and let me know. Like, you are a saint. Absolutely. So thank you guys for listening in. Thank you for participating in the chat. The funnest thing about this, even more than bantering with my bro here, RDV, is talking with you guys in the chat. I really do love everything you guys have to say. I may not always agree. I may be contentious. I don't mean anything by it. But it's fun for me. I think disagreement is kind of the spice of life. If we all just were like robots and we were all like, yeah, we all thought the same, it wouldn't be interesting. So I really respect everyone's different opinions and different viewpoints. Um, and I hope to see you again next week. And stop by the Geeky Pup shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And what else do we got? Oh, the reading club. We do a reading club on my channel that everyone's invited to participate in. If you're
Yeah, I'll
interested
be
in
a
reading
week from this Thursday.
comics, if you're interested in reading comics and just sharing discussion with fellow comic fans, we do a Discord kind of club meet every other Thursday. So not this Thursday, but next Thursday, and it's bi-weekly. And we're reading through books. Where the current book that we'll be doing this Thursday is The Magic Order, Volume 1 by Mark Miller, as nominated by our boy Zach. So he better be there and not playing Zelda. And we'll be just discussing it. Like, it's not really a review, but we just give our thoughts, love it or hate it. And it's a way to kind of read back issue comics, but yet enjoy them new with other people who are reading them for the first time as well. Which is something that's hard to do with back issues. That is one of the, for me, I find a cool thing about new comics because we're all kind of discovering them together. Um, so come join us if that sounds interesting to you. If you have questions about it, just reach out to me or Vankman, and we'll answer your questions. And I think that's it. I'm going to see Guardians tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to that. You've already seen it, right?
Yup. It is a little bit of a long movie. It's a little bit over 2 hours. I would recommend if you're old and you have a weak bladder, don't drink anything 2 hours before the movie.
Wow.
Try
I'm
that.
an Avatar fan, so I'm built for this. Um,
uh,
I'll be good, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Seems like everyone's been really enjoying it, and yeah, I've loved the first two, so I'm hoping this is a good wrapping up of the trilogy. Um, and yeah, so look forward to seeing you guys again. Thanks for watching. Read good comics. Put your recommendations down below if you want to share, like what we should be reading, books that maybe we don't have our eye on, but we should because they're really good. Word of mouth is very important. And I guess Venkman's not going to say anything. Good night, kids.